Okay, we're starting the show. Where is Mama Flip tonight? Where is Queen 88 at? Where are you? I'm in the building. Where's Mr. Shadow? We're looking for the Shadow tonight. Come on in, folks. Yes, indeed. Come on in. We're calling Queen 88 to the building. Where's Mama Flips at? Where's Shadow? We're looking for them tonight. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and watching the world. Tonight, we have the show of all shows that you've ever seen in regards to the Carmelo Anthony case. We know the game is going, folks. We know you love the game. But tonight, this is very, very serious. It's a serious situation in regards to Carmelo Anthony. And we're going to really break it down for you tonight. While I was in court, boots on the ground, I was able to sit right behind Carmelo Anthony and actually saw the young man. I saw the family. I sat beside Austin Metcalf's mother. I heard her cry throughout the day, throughout the court case. The jury was greatly affected because they could hear her tears, hear her cries, right? The tears would drop tremendously. We're going to talk about that, right? We're going to talk about the judge and how he really ran the courtroom with like an iron fist. Yes, indeed. We're going to talk about the jury and the observations in regards to this. So we ask that you stick around. We're going to be out here at least 4 hours tonight. This is going to be a really detailed breakdown. I'm going to go through my notes throughout the court day. And Shadow, Mama Flips, Queen 88, they're going to have a chance to question me as far as what I observed in regards to this case. Because come Monday, we go back to our regular schedule program. But this weekend, including tomorrow I'm going to give a special show just for the young people and for the future and how to avoid a calamity of this proportion. Why did that man lose his life? And why did a young man get locked up for 35 years? And why are so many people divided? Almost they were waiting for this moment so they could show their rear ends. And it doesn't smell good, folks. It's terrible. So let me welcome in at this time. I'm going to bring on Mama Flips to the show. Mama Flips, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for inviting me. How are you today?
Oh, it's good, good. You say you wanted me to go through the different notes in regards to this case, monumental case. So I said I would do it. And we're going to get started tonight. I even have local people that are quite familiar with this case that are going to be here too. Before we get started, I want to give a layout of what the jurors look like. What was the makeup of the jury? Because a lot of people are running with false narratives about the breakdown of the jurors. Okay. So we're going to get into that. I'm going to bring on Shadow in about a minute once he's ready to come into the show. But let's get started with the makeup of the jurors. But welcome to you.
Thank you.
This is a continuation of the other night. So we're going to get to this, right? All right. So let me give you an idea. There were 3 black jurors that it boiled down to. And these 3 black jurors were moved because they were teachers. Okay. It was never stated in court it's because they're black. Let's get that, straight. Now, many people might debate about that as to it was a narrative of they planned it this way, right? We're going to get into that later for those who want to contest it. But let me get to this. We had 5 white men, okay? 5 white men. We had 5 white women, okay? 5 white women. Now, this breaks down to 18. So we have the 12 main jurors that are typically on any case. And then typically they have 6 alternate jurors. So I'm giving you the entire 18. 5 white men, 5 white women. You had 2 Middle Eastern women. You had 1 Middle Eastern man. Okay. You had 4 Asian women. 4 Asian women. You had 1 Hispanic. Now, today, I heard on one of the biggest networks out there, oh, there's 3 Hispanics. No, 1. So we have to be accurate because you're trying to perhaps make people feel like Mexicans were on the jury. No, it wasn't the case. Stop with the nonsense. That's what we're here for tonight to really break this down. I'm going to bring on Shadow. Shadow, welcome to the building. How are you?
How you doing, bro?
All
I'm
right, all
doing
right.
great today.
Okay, I know I threw this on you. You can
Oh
get
no, it's
in.
cool.
You can get in where you fit in. As far as I know, you probably have activities. Okay. So
Uh,
first off, before we get started and I get into the notes, what do you guys think of the breakdown of the jury in connection to what you've heard in the media? Go ahead, Mama Flips. Go.
What did I think of as far as what I heard in the media about the juror?
No, what are your thoughts on the jurors and the breakdown that I just gave you?
I think the
And
jurors.
hold on, factor in everything that you've heard. Okay.
Yes. I think the jurors was not a fair selection, in my opinion. I think if we are going to be judged by our jurors, our peers, I think it should have been more multiracial for me. It would have been because I personally heard that the reason why, which you related, that there was an the 3 black jurors was let go was because they were educators, and I heard that one of the current the juror that sat through the entire case, I believe, was also an educator. So if you're saying that you're getting rid of all the educators and you still kept one educator, then my in my mind, what are the other reasons why you would remove the 3 black jurors? Now, if you come back to me, Mel, and you're the only one that could tell us, and we were supposed to do some reviews, I didn't have a chance, and say that there was no educators on the jurors, I will still be more inclined to feel a way that we didn't at least have one of a black or brown person representing us, meaning I recognize myself as a black female in America, and the jurors, right? Especially if you tell me the only reason why you would let go of these jurors is because they are educators, which to me is insane. Because normally when you make that type of decision, there's more factors involved, like they didn't answer the question correctly. The fact is that they made a statement that would lead them to be more biased. So that's my thing as far as the jurors. I told you already that I don't want to keep going back and litigating the actual case myself. I'll ask questions. I want to actually talk about the appeal, but I thought the jury makeup was bad. Now a lot of people want to throw in the fact, and I talked about this before. I'm going to say it again. They want to throw in the fact that it wasn't all white. We had a Latino, and they want to talk about that we had Asian Indian, right, or Asian. I want to make it perfectly clear, in my opinion. I'm going to say it again. If we are basing it on the current environment that we live in now, just the current environment, I think Shadow froze. If we thinking about the current environment that we are in now, the political environment, the current environment, we do not know as a people who want to continue to represent us as allies. Okay, we know by the opinions, especially when it come with our Asian American Asian people, when it came with the Rick Crow and the Cyrus case. There's been a lot of content creators, a lot of people going online and telling Asian Americans or Asian people they don't need black folks. Black folks want to boycott, so what? We don't need them. They're the problem. So to me, our Latino brothers and sisters and our Asians are siding more on their white side of the family. You understand what I'm saying? They're not really in this particular right where we are now. I'm talking about now, siding with us. So a lot of black folks feel like we alone. So with that said, telling us or telling me that, oh yes, they got rid of the 3 blacks, but guess what? You guys should be good because we had Asian people and we had some Latino person. That doesn't make us feel any warm and fuzzy. Not the way we're feeling right now. So again, I want to know more about the jurors. What instructions they were giving. I heard there was one juror at the end was crying. after she gave Carmela Anthony 35 years. I don't understand that. Did you all of a sudden wake up and look at the young man that's 17 years old that practically passed out, and then your conscience just hit you? You know what I mean? You couldn't been one of the jurors that advocated possibly maybe we shouldn't give him 35 years. Like, it's just a lot there. It's just a lot there. So that's my
Okay.
opinion as far as the jurors.
All right. So, Shadow, could you answer the same question? What are your overall thoughts of my breakdown that I gave you of the jurors that I noted in accordance to what you've heard in the media?
So I think you gave it. I'm just going by what I think I know. I think that's a pretty good, accurate description of the jury. So with that being said, I think the broader media is attempting to change the narrative based on what was there. But I think you giving the accurate description helps because it shows what the disparity actually looked like.
Okay. Why do you think most of the media networks keeps pushing that there were more Hispanics? Does that change anything, Mama Flips?
Yes, because I think that in their opinion, they feel that they know how a lot of the community feel, right? A lot of the community feel that this young man was railroaded. They're feeling that he's like a I mentioned his name, the young man that was unalived, and his mom showed his body throughout the South. Timmons Peel. Why can't I remember?
Emmett Till.
Emmett Tills. Sorry, I'm Haitian descent. So Emmett's, a lot of us is feeling like that we're living in this all over again with the Trayvon Martins of the world, with Emmett Fields of the world. We're feeling like that. We're feeling it, and it seemed like I think white America is beginning to wake up to realize that wait a minute, black people is not accepting this verdict because they feel away, right? Black people feel that they were railroaded because he didn't have a jury of his peers, because he did not. So in order to make us feel better for somehow, if they cared, right, especially the media, they were like, wait, you know something, wait a minute, whoa. It's not about race. Why are you guys saying it's about race? It's unfair to us to say it's about race. It's about an unalivement of another child. It's not about race. And just to show you that it's not about race, guess what? We actually had Latinos. We may not have had blacks, but we had Latinos. So you guys should feel okay that we had our Latino brothers and sisters. What they don't understand is that I love my Latinos. I said it, Melissa, later, all my Latinos, brothers and sisters, you know I love y'all, especially my advocate friends for years. I'm not talking to y'all. I'm talking to the fact that our Latino brothers and sisters already told us, or proved to us, they are more inclined, especially the last few years, to a couple of years, to be with the white side of their family. They feel more comfortable there. A lot of our Latinos are coming out proudly, and everybody has a right to identify as they want to, but they're coming out proudly as being, I'm not black. Stop calling me black. I'm not black. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're telling me that our Latino brothers and sisters don't represent us as black folks, of course we're not going to feel comfortable and happy, peppy that you had one or two Latinos. They're not representing us anyway. And that's how we feel. I feel.
Okay. All right. So, Shadow, why are they pushing that narrative about Hispanics being on the jury?
For the very thing she just said, and here's the worst part about it, and I'm going to expand a little, especially, I'm going to speak from here. I have a lot of people who work with me who came directly from Mexico. And a lot of the narrative that's spoken is black people will X you off for over a quarter. They warn them about black people consistently. And I've heard this on numerous occasions from numerous Hispanic origins. So it's super weird but the way they say it is, well, black and Hispanics are the same group of people because you're both minorities, which is why they're focusing so much on minorities. And so they're trying to play the game, despite the fact that a lot of Hispanics, while they'll deal with you if they had to choose between you and someone who's Caucasian, they would typically choose the Caucasian person.
Okay, very good. Thank you
Factual.
very much. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. So, guys, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to breeze through some of my notes, right? We're going to start off with the first witness, and then I'm going to give you a chance to chime in if you have any questions or if you want to make some comments in regards to the matter, right? So, we started off with Judge John Roach Jr. We went through the discovery log, okay? And the true bill of indictment, he was charged with murder one. On April the 2nd, 2025, his intention was to cause death, seriously hurt, and death for Austin Metcalf. And it came out that he was actually pleading not guilty. Let's just unpack the charges. Do you think that the original charges were fair? Murder one, this was intentional.
No,
Mama Flips, you want to go?
no, I do not believe that it's a fair assessment of what happened. As I mentioned in the previous, I don't think anyone mentioned or even tried to talk about the stand your ground laws in Texas, which allows people, individuals, and especially we have to recognize that he's a child, he's 17 years old, you allow individuals to defend themselves if they feel that they are in harm's way. So and also I do not believe, and I'm gonna be very hard. It's gonna be very hard to make me believe that this young man decided that he was gonna go to a track meet, identify a YT kid, right, and unalive him. It doesn't
Okay.
make sense to me. That's
All
how I
right.
feel about it. So I think that they should have gave him at the minimum, man. They should at least uh, go through the stand your ground theory. I'm not theory, the option. And if not, at least give him mans. And it's man s because I'm on TikTok. But that's how I feel about it. Yes.
Okay, guys. So we have a criminal defense attorney in the building, Calvin Johnson. Yes, indeed, criminal defense attorney. He's out of Dallas, Texas, 24 years. This is a beautiful night. We have some brilliant minds together. Calvin, we're going through my notes.
Okay.
Looking
Hi,
forward to everybody's comments. Could you introduce yourself?
I'm attorney Calvin Johnson. I've been practicing for 24 years. I practice up in Collin County. Actually, when I first got my law license, that's one of the first places I started practicing. So I've been doing this almost 25 years. It'll be my 25th year in November of this year. And I definitely understand what one of the panelists is saying. I was thinking maybe manslaughter based on the situation. It's just, I think one of the problems is his not being able to testify caused a huge problem. And I think that needs to be explored because he by not testifying, there were a couple of options I think that would have been available for him. Manslaughter would have been available, and even criminally negligent homicide would have been available, which has a maximum of 10 instead of 20. In Texas, manslaughter is a maximum of 2 to 20. Criminally negligent homicide could have been a maximum of 10. And so he had opportunities to, if he had been able to testify, he would have been able to get jury instructions, even on a criminally negligent homicide, if things would have possibly been handled differently. But I think that he had some issues that kept him from being able to potentially testify. So we'll kind of leave that there. But I agree with the manslaughter comment. Well, we
Okay.
got to be careful what we say.
I want to catch you up on one question. I want to go through the jurors one more time. You had 5 white men, 5 white women. You had 2 Middle Eastern women, 1 Middle Eastern man, 4 Asian women, and the rest, again, I went through, they were all white. So I just want to catch you up. I don't know if you want to speak on that, but
Mhm.
I just wanted to throw that to you. Because it's your county, I don't know if you want to touch on it or not. We could pass.
Well, I think ultimately, but what people have to understand one thing: what's going to happen in a place like Collin County. Collin County is about 11% African American. So typically, you'll get one, maybe 2 black people on a jury, if you're lucky. You'll be lucky to get 2 because a lot of us duck jury service. So you'll be lucky to get 1. So I think that's the one of the issues you have there. But getting rid of those three people, that's going to be a problem. And I think that's something that definitely the appeal lawyer will look at. But like I said before, that's kind of where that is at. But that's very unfortunate because it just didn't look right. Definitely don't feel right. And I think that's something that we can hold our hats to in terms of the appeal lawyer probably exploring that option to be able to try to get some get back there.
Okay, Mama Flips had a question for you in regards to they removed 3 black jurors, the final 3, because they were educators, but they left one educator allegedly in the totality of the 18. Why
That's
would they? Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you
that's
so much.
why that's exactly why I would definitely try to point that out on appeals. So I think that's an area where they better use it in terms of the appeal lawyer. I know that they're definitely going to go there because everybody pointed that out. I think that's definitely an area that they're going to go into.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to breeze through this and then we'll go around the room. Okay. Opening statement from the
Wait, can I
prosecution.
respond?
Yeah, go
Sorry, can I
ahead.
respond to the charge? Okay, so I agree. It should have been negligent H for sure. Because, again, Mr. What's your name, Calvin?
Yes, yes.
Uh, he mentioned something that a lot of people are skipping because of how we work in Texas. There are things that should have been done that were not done by his counsel, and by his counsel not forming a defense for certain things. A lot the reasons he couldn't testify, even not that, even bringing in other witnesses who could corroborate certain things. I think that's why he has a valid IAC claim later. Sorry.
Can I say something about that? But see that's where you run into the problem because I always tell, I always go back to a scene in The Wire when Barksdale told Stringer Bell, "Didn't I tell you about playing them away games? You know, you go to their tent. When you're in their tent, you're kind of playing an away game, which means you got all of their people in that tent with you." And even when it came to his buddy, I say buddy Eddie, or so-called buddy Eddie, even even Eddie turned on him. You know what I mean? So it's like he ended up playing an away game. So you don't have very many witnesses. There's not a lot of witnesses you can call to corroborate because you were playing an away game. And honestly, the more people you call, it seemed like to me, even the people that were supposed to be on your team was switching jerseys in the middle of the game. And so that's a problem for him. I knew that was going to be a problem when everything happened because when we were in school, and I know this is just something that I know people kind of rehash, we didn't go to the other side's tent. We didn't go to the other side's bus. We stayed on our side because we were in the middle of a battle. We don't go over there, and they can't come over here.
Okay.
We'll get into it because I know we're going to touch it later. But there's things I want to ask you specifically based on what you just said. So I'm going to put a pin in it.
Okay, I'm just asking everybody in the comments, please like, share, subscribe to the channel, but also be respectful. Tonight, we're going to be removing people if you're just being plain long ignorant. So let's just knock it off. Tonight is a serious discussion, and we want serious-minded people to comment and try to get along. All right, so here's the opening statements. These are notes that I took loosely, so we'll have to figure it out at certain points. I'm writing really fast in court. He says he took an open knife. So he says that Carmelo was sitting there. His knife was already open before this whole thing kicked off. He plunged it into Austin's chest. That's the term they use. And then he ran off. It has nothing to do with race. And this is the prosecution. Calvin, can you just take a moment and explain the opening statements of the prosecution before I go through this so everybody understands what I'm talking about?
And what they want to do, basically, they're going to lay out what happened, and they want to make sure that it's not a race thing. And what happens is when you have a situation like that, they're kind of pointing out the altercation. Even if there's a push, they're laying out the knife stabbing to the chest because they know the law is not going to permit, even if a push is brought up, a stabbing to the chest because of a push. Because in Texas, we have this thing called the law of proportionality. If somebody pushes you, you are not allowed to use deadly force as a response. Standard force is a push or a punch or a kick. That means you can respond in like, but you cannot respond to standard force with deadly force. Deadly force is going to be like a stick or a knife or a gun or something that can cause serious bodily injury or death. So that's why they brought that up, because that's setting that up for later.
Okay, Mama Flips, less than a minute, please. Let's go.
One of the stuff that I brought up constantly, I should let you know that I'm a gun violence prevention advocate for over 12 years, and we fought against the Texas Stand Your Ground law vigorously because we felt that the fact that they removed the requirement to retreat portion of it in Texas, because Texas is very loose on that. I don't understand why Stand Your Ground was not offered or discussed during this trial. I thought it was a miss mistake.
Well, what it comes down to is not like a stand your ground. He can stand his ground, but the issue is, what force can he use while he's standing it? You cannot use a knife if you got a push. And what happens is, if you take it to a level of using a deadly weapon, then you have to take it another level and explain why you use that deadly weapon. And you're going to have a great excuse for using it. And if you're not going to testify, now you put yourself in a huge hole, because who's going to have a better excuse than you? You're going to have to be the one to tell them that you fear for your life, you fear for serious bodily injury or death. Trying to get that kind of fear out through other witnesses, it's not going to work. So I think that's where the problem was. But then there's some other problems on the back end that I will discuss later that also cause some problems.
Okay, Shadow, you have a minute.
Okay, I'll ask you really quickly. So, whenever discussing the reasoning for why something happened, one of the things that a lawyer should have done was probably discuss the totality of the circumstances, not each individual element or aspect of it, like the push, or not the or his approach, not the hostility, not the, but instead how everything weighs together. Would you agree to that?
I would agree to that. I think you just used to talk more about him being in enemy territory, him being around the majority of their students, the guy's brother being in the tent, all of those things. I think you talk about those things, but what happens is the lawyer can get that in, but it's very hard for him to continue to hammer that, because one of the problems is they're parading 12, 13 witnesses in there, and they can have those same people tell their story 13 times, and you're trying to get it in through yourself and maybe through another witness or two, and they're drilling it through the heads of the jurors, because once again, you're playing an away game and they got their team lined up ready to go against you.
Okay, very good. All right, so I'm going to breeze through this. These are the opening arguments. Calvin, can you define opening arguments?
Opening arguments typically are what you're going to try to prove, what you're going to try to tell the jury. You're going to set it up of where your case is going to go, and how you're going to try to get there. You try to paint a picture of what you try to set an easel up for how the picture is going to look at the end of your case, and you try to lay out a foundation to color on. That's kind of what your opening statements are.
Okay, so let's breeze through it. Welcome, Uda on go. Everybody knows Uda. This is
Uda?
the home team, so we know who Uda. Yeah, we know who Uda is. Okay, so let's breeze through it. Everybody, please mute up really quick. All right, so opening arguments from the prosecutors. I'm going to start over real quick. I'm going to go through this briefly. We're going to pause and go through everybody for a minute. Calvin will be answering everybody or leading the show. So, according to the prosecutors, he took an open knife that he had already had open in his bag. This is what the prosecution is saying before he plunged it into the chest of Austin. This is not a case about race, has nothing to do with self defense. He says the folding knife was open. Deadly and dangerous actions. This is the prosecutor. Says he ran off fast and slowed down, trying to blend in with the crowd. So this is what happened. They're saying this is what he did according to the video. All right. This was a district track meet. Austin Metcalf. It was raining and it caused a lot of confusion that day. They said that from the beginning. 2 minutes after Austin entered the tent, that's when everything was normal. And then things kicked off. It says the tent served as a locker room for all of the teams. Your tent is your locker room because some people are changing their clothes. He refused to leave. Austin didn't know he was stabbed. He lifted his shirt and there was a large 2-inch gash. Students point out Carmelo. The coaches detained Carmelo. Carmelo says he touched me. And then Carmelo told a police officer when he said over the scanner, this young man allegedly stabbed him. I have him. Carmelo says, I'm not alleged. I did it. He touched me first. Okay. Um, and it says, tell a lie. I don't know what that means. I told him not to. Okay. So that's what he says. I told him not to. And then he says he tossed the knife and tried to slip away. And then he says, find him guilty of first degree murder. That's what they said, first degree murder, one first degree murder. So they say you don't use that term in Texas, but I wrote it down that way. All right, guys, here we go. We'll start with Udo on go. What do you think about these opening arguments? What sticks out to you?
A few things. Him saying that when they said over the CB or whatever, the radio, he said, I got the alleged person, and he said, I'm not alleged. I did it. You know, some people were saying that him speaking about the case was maybe a detriment to him. But if you believe in stand your ground and all those things, he was actually just being honest. Because if you really feel like you're in the right or you did something rightfully, why will you hide that? You know? So that was something that I've been hearing online where some people saying, you should have never said nothing from the beginning. Everybody saw it happen, whether he said it or not. People witnessed it and it was at school. So it kind of leans towards him, you know, maybe feeling like he stood his ground, you know. It kind of seems that way to me.
Okay, thank you. Mama Flips, what do you think so far?
I mean, I agree with Udo, and I also want to say that go back to Calvin.
Yes.
Calvin, go back to Calvin.
Calvin Klein, yes. Like Calvin
How
Klein.
you doing, Mr. Klein?
Like Calvin, but like Calvin Klein, because some people will say,
Calvin
you know.
Klein. So I just wanted to go back into again the standing ground, and that I know I keep pushing that explanation again because based on some of the stuff that I hear, that I learned about the process. Now, it does mention proportional to the threat, but it also says unless you have a reasonable fear of death or seriously bodily injury. You see, this is why I keep pushing to stand your ground, Calvin, because I know for a fact that maybe it's different when it comes to a knife play, a stabbing play, and a pew pew. But if and we've had this in our met survivors. I met actual survivors in Texas where the person that was unalive did not have any weapon. However, the person who unalived that person felt in fear of their life, in fear of bodily harm, especially when it came to police officers. And the attorney used stand your ground. Now, I personally feel it was also a mistake for Carmelo Anthony not to be brought up to testify. I think that it was a mistake.
But I'm sorry, just strictly the opening
I'm
arguments
sorry.
of these
So with the
points that
opening
I talked
argument,
about. Yeah.
oh, I'm so
And
sorry.
one minute.
Okay. Oh, so I'm saying that that's my whole take. My whole take is that I believe that that they shouldn't have used first degree. Oh, and I'm glad you brought me back to it. Thank you, Mel, for bringing back to it. My biggest complaint to you the other day was like they brought in the man's act, the man's slaughter at the end of the trial, and I thought that was unfair. I thought that's also a reason for appeal because they should have brought it in the beginning. It should have been. I know that the prosecutor is going to say first degree, but it should have been discussed from the beginning that he had an option for men's.
Okay, your
That's
minute. Calvin, do you want to interject with this whole whatever she said, or you cool?
Yeah, I think the problem is, and what I try to tell people, yeah, you can stand your ground, but what happens is because of the way that Texas law is written, you can't get around when you're using self-defense. And because he already said, I did it, it was self-defense. Those were his words from the officer. When you use self-defense, that's what he is using. You're not going to be able to get around proportionality. And there is a way around proportionality, but that would require him to give an explanation. It will require him to testify. But once again, I'm going to get around to maybe why he didn't testify because everybody's pointing to that. And I had to go back and really rack my brain because I was like, the lawyer that represented him, he actually, y'all know the boxer Jamel Charlo?
Yeah.
That was the boxer who got Jamel Charlo off. He's not a bad lawyer. So I was like, something's wrong. And the other white guy that helped him,
Toby Shook.
Toby's one of the top 10 lawyers around here. I was like, something's wrong. And I said, wait a minute. Then I thought about something. I said, wait a minute. The only time that I had to stand up there and take punches to the face is when my client had something wrong. There was something there. I had a client that had a lot of bad stuff on his phone, had a lot of bad stuff social media wise. He had a lot of bad stuff. And I was like, okay, maybe that's it. So I'm going to talk about that stuff on the back end because in this situation, that's something that could cause a problem. And we'll go through that when I go back, because there's reason why you don't call your client. And for them not to call him even in punishment, that I was like, whoa, something's there. Because that something's there because I got put in a situation earlier during COVID where I couldn't put my guy up there for nothing because of some of the stuff. So I'll go through that with y'all on the back end of that one.
Okay, Shadow, opening arguments, 1 minute. What do you think about it?
My issue with opening arguments were the fact that a lot of the issues that were brought up, the government did exactly what the government does. They painted the worst possible issue, the worst scenario for a group of 18 lay people who didn't know what the law looked like, saying, hey, this is what he did. This is how we did it. Even if it's factually not fully accurate, it's still what you need to present to the government to let them know, hey, this is what I need you to think about. In response, the defense's opening argument should have brought Calvin's here. So the proportionality, right? Or mitigated threat. In Texas, whenever you're being jumped, it actually increases the threat level inherently. I don't know why his lawyer didn't bring that up, because he was approached hostily by up to 6 people. 2 guaranteed, 6 obvious, or 6 reported. With that being said, that could have easily set his mind state to the jury. Why wasn't that placed there? His warning wasn't advised by his lawyer when he made the warning. Because again, we're in Texas. As a martial artist, before I fight you, I have to warn you of my status. Hey, I'm warning you now. I'm a registered weapon. Keep trying me. That's not me saying I'm going to whatever to you. That's me warning you. If you continue to cross that line, I will respond. And I feel like his lawyer dropped the ball even at opening argument.
Okay. You want to expound? How did he drop the ball? You want to say?
So, because, and again, sorry about my voice, my chimerism. So, one of the things that I feel like he dropped the ball with is he didn't try to explain to people who didn't understand that because of how many people approached him, you could have just said, well, while he was sitting in enemy territory, there were 6 people who approached him to try to force him to move. Use the same easel that the government just painted and flip the board around and try to make a softer painting. Explain why he's so afraid. Explain why what happened. Explain the fact that, hey, I'm warning you this is the case. Hey, I'm trying to keep you from doing the thing that I will do if you push this line. But they didn't do that because they didn't argue stand your ground. It was barely a self-defense argument.
Okay. So in court, just so you know, about 6 kids, some even black, about 2 or 3, mentioned that they had mentioned for him to get out of the tent. In the video, you only see Austin moving. If 6 people, 4, 3 had got up, you would have been able to detect it. So in the video, you just see Austin rushing to the right and then back to the left. So I think that's how they dispelled this other video concept. Just to let you know.
Can I make a comment about that?
Yeah, it's your turn. Go ahead.
One of the biggest problems we have too as well is that we've never heard Carmelo's side of the story. We've never heard his voice. And even with that, that's an assumption you made about the 6 people attacking. We don't know because the majority of his people are the ones that are telling the story. So when we don't hear Carmelo's story, it's a problem for us because that's why if, for example, if Carmelo does happen to testify, he's able to say, hey, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people were moving on me. He's able to say, hey, Austin put a football move on me and tried to jack me up while I was sitting down. I couldn't even get up. And because I was sitting down, I couldn't get up and I was scared because he was already on top of me before I could move. Then that puts everything in a different light. But when you don't testify that kind of information, when you're sitting in their tent, when you're playing an away game, you can't get that information out. And that's a problem. Because I try to tell people when I go on these podcasts and they come with all of these theories, I say, well, you just got a theory because all them people in that tent ain't saying that. And then Carmelo never said anything. I still don't know this young man's side of the story. And that's driving me crazy. That's about me. That's about to make me hit my head on the wall to the white meat. And because I don't know his side of the story. And that's a problem. That's my edge on that.
Okay, so we're gonna.
Sorry. So here's the issue with it, and I think we'll get into it because I'm pretty sure he's going to go day by day. But the 6 people that I named isn't just my assumption; it's things that witnesses actually testified to. But even still, let's wipe that slate clean. Let's say we know nothing else. We do know for a fact that it was both Austin and Hunter. Both of them were there, right?
Correct. It was testified in court that Hunter was standing up behind him. At least 2 of the kids testified to that. So again, I'm not a defense counsel. You are, but I would have made the point. He had reasonable fear. He had reasonable fear that if he fought Austin, Hunter would jump in, and both of them outweighed him by at least 90 pounds.
That I could say for sure. And so that's where you go with it. But like the 6 people thing, I mean, I think ultimately you had about, how many people, like 12 people tell the same story, and they were just saying maybe Austin and Hunter, or Austin mainly by himself. So you had that issue going on, but you had maybe Austin and Hunter. That's the Austin and Hunter, that direction I definitely would have went into. But you had to be careful because you needed to either have multiple people on your side tell their story, or you were going to have to tell the story. And if you're not telling the story, good luck. That's tough because in opening, you're not allowed to, you allowed to say certain things, but if you say that and you say 6 people attacked him and you go through there and you don't prove that because you ain't got your guy testifying and you can't show them where 6 people attacked because you don't have the numbers or you don't get that information, then you look like a fool. Then you look like you're lying to the jury. So even in opening statements as the attorney, you got to be careful because if you tell them, I'm going to tell you A, B, and C, and you tell them D, E, and F, then that's not good. So you got to be careful.
Okay, so Prayerful is asking what happened to the coach. The coach explained that it was so busy and they were short staffed that he went to get a crock pot out of his car. And on the way back, he heard that Austin had been stabbed. So that's where he said typically there's a coach at the tent because there's girls and guys there and things tend to go left sometime. And then he did say there's people that try to come under other people's tents. Coach Starr did testify that. So let's get to the defense, guys. These are the opening arguments of the defense. We already went through the prosecution, so if you just came in, you just have to go back. The defense says a lot of noise about this case, a lot of completely false information. A student with a 3.7 GPA, football he plays, baseball, he's good at chess, he enjoys camping. That's probably why they say he had a knife, okay, or had that multi-purpose tool. Okay, that's what the defense was painting. His mom is a nurse. His dad is a finance manager at an auto dealer. They came from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and they moved to Frisco for a better life. Carmelo has epilepsy, and he has a younger sister who has epilepsy too. They both have seizures, okay? In this season, he had an injured shoulder, and the defense attorney made a mistake. He said this happened on April the 22nd. It actually happened on April the 2nd. And I'm like, man, you're the defense attorney and you screw up the opening arguments. He says he woke up late and he drove to school. No, he didn't drive to school. He rode the bus to the track meet. Uh, Carmelo scheduled for the long jump. It was raining, light and heavy at times. Some kids take cover under the tent. That day, Carmelo school did not have a tent. Okay, who wants to kick it off? Calvin, you want to kick it off and end it? So you get a
Yeah,
minute. A
you're
minute.
right. There was a mistake on the date. That's not good. But
And
the,
that
I
was
see.
Mike. That was Mike that did that
Howard.
mistake.
Mike
Okay.
Well, let
Howard,
me
right?
tell you this. One thing I wouldn't have done is I wouldn't have told them they moved up here to get a better life. The reason why, there's a scene in The Wire where Clay Davis beats that case, and he makes the prosecutor looks like that prosecutor is not from where everybody else is from. And in a Collin County jury, you don't want them to know that person isn't from where they're from. You at least want them to make them seem like they were raised right then and there. And if they're not raised right then and there, then I'm not going to even share that where they're from. Not only did you tell them that they're not from the area, hell, you told them they weren't even from Texas. So you you told them they were some Louisiana folks. So you can't even get like they're even from Texas. I wouldn't have said they were from Louisiana. Because you know they're not even fellow Texans. So there where we go. I mean, so that's a whole nother ball. I wouldn't have done that one. So that's one thing that I see. So with that being said, that's what I think about the opening statements. The seizures, that's great. You got to tell him that he had the seizures, and once again, that's why, unfortunately, if you tie the seizures in, if you have him able to testify, he'll be able to tell you like how that affects him and how important that is. I happen to know that if you get punched in the chest and you got some seizures, man, that could be deadly or it could be very harming to you. But once again, because he couldn't testify for various reasons, that caused a problem.
Okay, Calvin, here's a note for you. The prosecution went up, he freestyle extemporaneously, okay? Mike Howard for the defense. He went up there with note cards and he kept fumbling around reading his points. What do you think that's about?
Some people use a notepad. Sometimes I use a notepad, but I may use that doing voir dire. When I go up in opening statements, I typically don't use a notepad. Some people may think that maybe he's not prepared, or he can't remember stuff, or he might, or something like that. But for me, my opening statements and my closing statements, I feel like I'm preaching a sermon. My closing statements, I don't take nothing up there. I close on my own. It's like sermon time for me. I close extremely well, so I don't need pen and paper. I mean, I close like a preacher. I close like a pastor. So I don't do it that way. So for me, I like to freestyle because it shows people that you have confidence in what you're saying, and it shows that you're prepared. But that's just me. I mean, for some people, it's different, but for me, I like that.
Okay, very good. Uda, your minute. Let's go.
What I'm thinking, like, do you think it's good to bring up the epilepsy? Because if he's playing a full contact sport like football, how is he able to play a full contact sport like football and still rely so much on the case that there's epilepsy and seizures? That'd be like one of my questions that I want to know from Calvin.
I still think you put it out there. Believe it or not, it's funny. I was telling Mel, my domino partner in college was a college football player. His roommate was also a football player that had epilepsy, and the reason why he had to stay with my homie is because he had seizures, but he could only play certain positions. He had to play on special teams, and he could only do certain things. Some positions, like kickoff and some of the other stuff, you can actually do because you're not likely to be contacted. So some football players, depending on position you play, you're not really at a lot of risk. You still can play, So I still think that in a football field, sometimes you can plan for certain things. In a fight, it's freestyle. I mean, somebody punch you in a particular place, it's a wrap. I still think that bringing up the epilepsy would have been good for him.
Okay, very good. All right, Mama Flips, your minute.
I mean, I agree. I don't see too much of a fault as far as it's him saying April 2 and April 20, because they both have twos and sometimes they're split up. So I didn't think it was such a big deal to get the dates wrong. I think the epilepsy should have been pushed a little bit more. Also, I think that they should have mentioned the fact that he saved somebody's life to give him more of a overall uh, kid view. And then they should have talked more about how he was a kid. He was 17 years old. I don't remember anybody talking about that. Like, hey, he's 17 years old, and at the age of 17, the brain is not fully developed. They should have had a psychologist, a social worker. They should have had expert on teenagers. They should have. So that's what I would have added the hero and probably bring an expert.
Okay, Shadow, your minute.
So while I typically wouldn't have advised this because I have, well, quick lesson, I've got bloodline chimerism. It actually causes seizures, but I'm a martial artist as well and a professional stunt person. So in both of those cases, despite me having seizures, my medical condition does still exist, but I still choose to do what I do because sometimes it's worth the risk because you don't want to just stay a homebody. I also believe, and this is what I would have, I believe this would have been good in this case, is to explain the history of bullying of the Metcalf brothers. So then it shows with their approach, with the video, with how things happen, that of course Carmelo had actual reasoning. Because again, he tried to give a warning, and that warning was specifically ignored. And he even ignored it because he didn't care. So it goes from, hey, he intended to X him off, to no, he actually did mean to give you a warning to make sure you didn't do it. He tried to stop you, not you. He did it knowing you didn't have a choice. He gave him the choice to flee, and he didn't. And Austin didn't take that choice.
Okay, Calvin.
The Texas rules of evidence are not going to allow you to go into the history of the Metcalf boys previous to the day of that incident. The rules of evidence in Texas are not going to allow you to do that. That's why they could not do that.
Okay. All right. 30 seconds, Mama Flips.
So with that said, then the reverse is true, right? Because you're saying that there were certain things that's possible that was with Carmelo. I think that's what you mentioned. So they weren't able to talk about Carmelo history either, right?
No, it's a little different because what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen. When what happens is when you ask Carmelo certain questions and you say certain things, it's going to be a problem for him. And I'll kind of go into that a little later because in Texas, they kind of don't let you go into the history of the victim. The person on trial, sometimes you have a little bit more leeway going after them. I know that's kind of crazy, but at the same time, that's how things work in Texas. In addition to that, you got to be extremely careful if you do put Carmelo on the stand because, for example, when you're a young person and let's say you can get up there and you want to be able to avoid saying something that opens Pandora box up to talk about some really bad stuff, right? Some of the young people are not smart enough to not say the wrong thing to open Pandora's box. And that's one of the problems that you run into. I think you can deal with some of that through witness prep. But with that being said, there are some issues there for Carmelo, probably or potentially, that we're going to cause him a problem.
Okay. If you guys see anybody saying chimping out or monkeys, all this stuff, kick them out of here. For the moderators that we have in the building, I don't know whose platform they're coming in. So here's the final.
Can I respond to Calvin real quick? I want to ask him because he said something interesting.
30 seconds, yes.
About 30 seconds. Huh?
Yeah, go ahead.
You got 30 seconds. Yeah, go.
Okay. All right, Calvin. So if the defense was using the stand your ground defense, because Austin's history would have been relevant to said defense, would that, while it couldn't be brought up in opening arguments, could it have been brought up later in order to establish why he ended up in the position he was in?
Standing your ground in this particular situation, I know y'all want to go there, but because what Carmelo has already said, he's already said it's self-defense. He's already basically said it's self-defense. And so because it's self-defense, it's not stand your ground. It's going to be self-defense, and it's going to be proportionality in that particular situation for him. Self-defense is basically standing your ground is standing your ground, which you're standing back and fighting. If you are accused of something, like if a crime happens and you're saying it's self-defense is what we call an affirmative defense, which you're saying, yeah, I did it, but I had a reason to be able to do it. And the reason for me to be able to do it is I was defending myself. And in defending myself, it's more proportionality. And because I am defending myself, I have to defend myself in proportion to what happened. And see, that's why when you listen to this case, you don't hear anybody talk about stand your ground. And the reason why you don't hear about anybody talking about stand your ground, because when you use the words of Carmelo, especially since he didn't testify, the words that came through the officer who testified, who said, I'm not alleged, I did it, it was self-defense. You're going to go directly to self-defense because that is the officer and Carmelo talking is not hearsay because Carmelo is talking to the officer. The defense is not going to object to it because the defense wants the jury to hear that the defendant is saying it's self-defense. So when it's self-defense, that's the argument that it's gonna be. I know everybody wants it to be stand your ground, but it's just not. It's gonna be self-defense based on the fact of A, Carmelo not testifying, B, Carmelo saying it out of his own mouth, C, Carmelo not testifying and saying it out of his own mouth to the officer who actually had to testify. That's what he said. And that's when you're going to have proportionality arguments. And that's where the issue kind of falls. And believe me, I understand how everybody feels about it. But in Texas, that's how it's going to go. That's going to be the argument, specifically because of what Carmelo said. That's
But Calvin,
just where it's
I'm
at.
sorry.
Yeah.
But Calvin, the problem is the reasonableness of Carmelo at the time of the instance. And again, as a defense attorney, I would say, yes, he called it self-defense, but is it reasonable that a 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony understood the difference between self-defense and standing my ground? Would he have been able to tell the officer, hold on, I was standing my ground? When most adults don't understand the difference between self-defense and stand your ground. Couldn't that have been a fair?
I get what you're saying, but stand your ground doesn't get him where he needs to be. Self-defense does get him where he needs to be. So I'm just kind of where I'm telling, because even if he's standing his ground, it's not going to work for him. The only way he was going to get to where he needed to be, honestly, point blank stop. And I know everybody wants to go these different directions, but I'm just going to tell you, the only way he was going to get where he wanted to be is A, if I have self-defense and I had to go past punching, kicking, or hitting, I had to have a really good excuse of explaining why I went to the knife stabbing as opposed to doing a proportional response. I actually thought he had a good response if he would have verbalized it and it would have been allowed to be expounded upon, but he did not actually do that because of whatever he had going on.
Okay. All right. Very good. So we're going to breeze through. I'm going through the notes from court. We're finalizing the opening arguments for the defense at this time. It says that Carmelo was in a normal mood. The video was blurry. Melo recognized Edwin Para. He recognized Edwin Para, who was a friend. He walks in and daps him up, okay, and sits, and they start talking. Opening arguments from the defense. 10, 15, 20 kids from Memorial. Mello was the only, for some reason, the defense attorney only called him Mello, didn't call him by his name. In Diddy's trial, they called him Mr. Combs, right, Uda? Anyway, Mello the only outsider. Hunter and Austin starts making fun of him. Austin is 6'1", 220 pounds, and Hunter is a little bit smaller. And as long as you don't touch me, we're cool. That's what Carmelo told him. As long as you don't touch me, we're cool. Melo remained seated the entire time. Austin says, I know you ain't got nothing in your bag. Hunter and Austin walk towards Melo. Melo remains seated. Austin makes the first contact. In a split second, Melo has to decide how to act. Why didn't he walk away? He dropped the knife by the tent, a couple of bleachers up. Instead of running out of the exit, he runs on the track field right to Vincent Cooper, a coach. He said, I was defending myself. So that's the opening arguments for the defense. Calvin will get you to start and we'll go around.
I think that's a good argument because it shows he was sitting down. It shows that they approached him. It shows that they were being aggressive and questioning whether he could defend himself. It shows that they had an advantage. Number one, they were bigger than him, heavier than him, taller than him. They outnumbered him, and that they moved toward him potentially while he was still sitting down in a vulnerable position. And one thing I try to tell people, it's great to have that as an opening argument. It would have been cherry on top of the cake if you able to have Carmelo then come testify, yeah, when I was sitting down, so-and-so came up, so-and-so was standing behind him, and I never got the chance to get up. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? Because opening arguments is opening arguments. Testimony later on is confirmation of opening arguments. And so it would have been great to have Carmelo be able to come in and say exactly what his attorney said in the beginning.
Okay, very good. We could go around to Uda. Your 1 minute spin.
Yeah. To me, I think them calling him Mellow, maybe he's trying to bring some normalcy to him. But like one thing about the Diddy trial, they did refer to him by Mr. Combs. They were very formal when they dealt with that. I think they could have. I think they could have done more. I think the defense, because it seemed like the prosecution came out swinging from the gate. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that from the opening arguments, I think that the defense was a little slow-footed. I think they were very slow-footed. I think they needed to put more on the board for the jury. I think they needed to bring some more, like, a humanity to him, speak to his character a little bit of the kind of person he is, stuff like that. So that before we get into the heat of this whole thing, maybe they could start to see him in a different way. Because once you're in that defensive chair, a lot of time people look at you like you're guilty, whether you're innocent before, but people look at you like you are, especially with a case like this that's highly publicized. I don't think they did enough to humanize him. You know what I mean? Just to make him look at him like a young guy that made a mistake. You know what I mean? I don't think they did that enough for him in the very beginning.
Okay. Mama Flips, your 1 minute spin.
I think the reason why they changed it from Carmelo to Mello is because Carmelo is an ethnic name, right? Carmelo would bring you to mind to ethnicity, minority, Latino, other branches, and they felt they brought Melo because Melo sound more like a sports name, you know what I mean? And also Melo is like a kid nickname, so I think that's where they went with that. I thought that's pretty much that when you were talking about that, and I don't. That's where I focus as far. I think they should have done more as far as explaining why he felt in fear. Just like even though me and Calvin disagree on the standing ground, and I have my reason, we'll talk about it later. I think the fact is that they needed to branch it out more. If Carmelo could not tell the story of why he feared, I think his attorney should have said, by the way, he had seizures, and he felt that if he got hit, that he would have had a seizure and he would have been unalive. I think they should have pushed that a little bit more as far as physicality and the fact that he would have feared, and that's why he used the weapon. And I think they should have talked about multi-purposes tool a lot more, even though you would disagree with me the other day, instead of kept on referencing a knife. Thank you.
Okay. Shadow, 1 minute spin.
So, Mama, you got that. Oh, man. Absolutely. I believe the reason they used the name Mello is because they were trying to give him a nickname to these adults who are now looking at this child. No, this was Mello. This is what Mello was filming. But here's the problem. I think that's where their de-aging ended. They stopped trying to explain how he could have been scared. They didn't really touch on the fact of the situation he was in, of his potentiality of getting jumped, of how he felt he was where he was invited and he didn't want to get pushed around, how he didn't want to get bullied. They didn't explain how he actually tried to warn them so he didn't have to go too far. Like, I feel like things that would have taken out the intent aspect of it would have been very focal. And I feel like they dropped the ball there.
Okay, Calvin.
Say that again, man. I want to go get to the end of what you said at that. I want to catch the end of what you said because I want to start there.
I feel like they dropped the ball because they didn't really focus on how he felt vulnerable. They didn't focus on how he didn't want to be bullied for a reason that didn't make sense. They didn't focus on the rain. They didn't focus on the people around it. There's a lot of things where people could have looked at the circumstance and then thought about the entire situation and why he tried to warn them so he didn't have to do it. To kind of show, no, his intent wasn't to X him off. His intent was to get him off of him.
All right,
and that's what I believe.
Can I pause you guys for a minute?
Yes.
Yes, I'm saying that Carmelo remains seated the entire time. He stabbed Austin while he was sitting down. All right, go ahead, guys.
I think he's right when he's saying that. I think that there should have been, number one, more humanizing him. I think the canvas should have been painted better about the circumstances, the stuff that was happening around him. I felt like an opening statement, I think you could tell a little bit more about Carmelo as a person because you had to know that there was a potential that you were not going to call him, or there was a potential for you not to call him. So if you're going to do that, then you should have been humanizing him on the front end. You tell a little parable, you add a little couple of sentences on maybe something that he has done positive. Add something about, hey, he is the first child of his mom, and she has 3 other children. You do some things like talk about that. You make him look like a big brother and a son. You want to humanize him because I think when you do that, you paint a different picture of him. I think because he just sat there, they didn't view him as a kid that I'm sentencing to 35 years. They just looked at him as a thing that I'm sentencing to 35 years because they never really heard his voice. They never really got to know him. They didn't understand how he felt. When somebody talks, you can feel them. They never really got to feel them. So I believe that.
Okay, very good. So we're going to move on to the next witness. Well, the first witness, his name was Mark Porter. He's a forensic video analyst. Okay. And basically, he was trying to establish that there's more credence in the videos that were a lot clearer. But he says that in this particular video, they give a lot of credence when they're trying to identify someone and they see tattoos or other body parts that are distinctive. But in this video, you couldn't really make out much of anything. He said the videos show rapid pictures in motion, and he said the resolution, it identifies different items. At 9:54, Austin arrives. At 9:56, we're talking about the tent, Mello arrives. So they arrive within 2 seconds of each other. Carmelo comes from the left and Austin comes from the right. Okay. At 10 o'clock, in 48 seconds. That's when the fight starts. So you get that from. It's very important to get this. All right. So 9:54, Austin arrives. 9:56, Mello arrives. By 10 o'clock in 4 minutes, that's when you see the fight. In the fight, in the video, the only thing we saw under the tent was Austin first running toward Carmelo, and then it appears like we see motion going to the left. It was hard to decipher if Carmelo was moving back in that direction. Okay. At 10 o'clock and 48 seconds, that's when the fight occurs. At 10 o'clock and 53 seconds, the suspect ran. Okay. So 10 o'clock at 48 seconds, they begin fighting. At 10 o'clock and 53 seconds, folks, in 5 seconds, the suspect is already running. At 10:05 and 30 seconds, the police arrive. Look how fast the police got there. It says, all this time, I thought this happened at a school. Okay, that's a note I wrote. So I thought it happened at a school. It actually happened at the track meet. And that's when I discovered that because I saw the video. All right. Okay, so Calvin, you can start us off.
So in terms of the video situation, it's from what you told me, Mel, it kind of grainy. Is that correct as well?
Yes, very grainy.
And what I would have tried to do with that is you see a very rapid movement. You said rapid movement, is that correct?
Yes.
I would have tried to use that as it when on the defense side, not just as a push. Because to me, if somebody's gonna rapidly move toward me and they were moving toward me and they're 200 and some odd pounds, I'm gonna say, hey, they were trying to either tackle me or really gain control of me. I think that because Austin was a football player, and see, this is where my knowledge of sports would have came in. I heard he was a linebacker, if I'm correct. There's this move, but like I told you, my domino partner in college, I played basketball. He played offensive lineman. There's this move that these linebackers would do, where they would get up under shoulder pads, and they can lift you, and they literally lift you and control where you go. Like they
Yeah,
can
bench
lift
press
you. Yeah,
suspension.
yeah, they can see you this way. They push you down, and I would have tried to argue that, hey, it wasn't just a situation where he got pushed. He was trying to be controlled by this guy. This guy is a linebacker. He's a football player. He's a defensive player. He doesn't just go push people. He tackles people. He moves people. He gets on top of people. I would have made those kinds of suggestions. I would have made him look like, hey, he was Mike Singletary, Lawrence Taylor, somebody, Urlacher. I'd have called him Urlacher, and I'd have made him look like that, because then it gives my client a better opportunity to respond.
Okay. Udo on go. Your minute.
Yeah. I wish that the video was more clearer, because they said the video is supposed to be 4K. So I just wish that was more clear. The
Rain,
video,
I think. It was raining?
it was grainy as well. It was raining.
Raining,
A lot more.
yeah.
It was raining. It's and from the beginning, it seems like Austin was being aggressive to Carmelo, actually, from the very beginning, and Carmelo was seated, So I don't think that he went there like to maybe start trouble. But like also, like Calvin said, you're in a away game, you know what I'm saying? Like you're on another person's tent, which they considered the tent to be a locker room as well. So, but how fast it accelerated though is something that is key for me. Within a couple of minutes from Carmelo Austin arriving, and then within a few minutes, everything is going helter skelter already. So I think that was real key for me. How fast everything happened. Yeah, it's just a sad situation on both sides. I think it's
Okay, Mama Flips, your minute.
Apologies. I think he was profiled. I think he was profiled by those young men. And again, I should mention in my 1 minute condolences to the family member for the loss of Austin. I want to make it perfectly clear before people start throwing shot at me that I'm also a fellow survivor. I lost my nephew due to gun violence, so I totally understand the family of the Metcalf and their loss of their loved one. I've been there as a family member, so I just want to make sure I make it clear. With that said, I think they profile him. I don't know if they profile him because he's color or they profile him because they feel that he's the enemy because he was from another team. But in my feelings, there's no reasons why. Again, I feel that he was profiled. There's no reason why they should have just gone for 4 minutes, less than 4 minutes to this young man that's sitting there. Obviously, according to some people, except for Eddie, who was supposed to be his friend, he went and sat down next to his friend. So why are you going there and trying to remove a young kid from the tent? It doesn't make sense to me. And why in such a small period of time? Did you know him beforehand? Did you have animosity towards this kid beforehand? If it's not about color and the fact that why this kid, because a lot of people want to push that back that there was black kids, black kids, black kids, black kids. Yeah, I mean, it's not, sometimes it's not even a matter of the color of your skin, it's a matter of your belief. Like, we have a lot of black folks that don't believe that they're black. You understand what I'm saying? So I just think that they profiled young Mello, and they wanted him out of the tent for whatever their reason, and that's what led to the unalivement of Austin. Again, my condolences to the family as a survivor.
Okay, thank you. Shadow, your turn.
So I don't think they did enough to establish the fact of that positioning, because considering the fact of how he was still seated, the opportunity to flee. But once conflict actually started, the conflict was on, because as Calvin said, look, Calvin should have been his lawyer. From everything we're hearing today, he had this defense lined out.
Hey,
because yes, he was about to control his entire body. I'm a black belt in judo. I know what that move will do to you. And keep in mind, if he has a history of seizures and now he's controlling the body, what can happen? And now we're looking at it again, where the threat, why he had a reasonable belief that if he was jumped, that he could be in mortal or serious danger. Hence self-defense or proportionality.
Okay. Under cross. Oh, Calvin, your turn.
I know exactly what you mean. It's a situation where, like I said, I would have definitely approached that whole thing differently. Just been more expansive, especially knowing kind of what I had to kind of show, improve, and I think also we're going to always be kind of realistic, right? In terms of what I'm doing, right? Of course, when I defend my clients, the key is to try to get them not guilty using the self-defense. But I also want to be smart enough to where, hey, there's a good chance that this jury may find them guilty of something. So I want to make sure that that's not murder, that it is either manslaughter or criminally negligent homicide. And in my mind, if I know that there's a great chance that he is not going to testify, I need to make sure that I understand what I need to do to get either charge number 2 or number 3 in there. Because getting him a murder on this situation is crazy, because it expands that range. And I know that if he's not going to testify, I know I might be dead in the water, because I know once the knife to the heart happens, proportionality is an issue for me. So I know where I got to go. And so sometimes some of us, we won't make that calculation in our head because we think we're giving up on the client. And I'm like, nah, I don't want a disaster. I got to hedge my bets. I don't want a disaster for this kid, because if he gets 10 years, maybe he can come on in 5. Even if he gets 15, that's 7.5, not too bad. He get 35, oh my God. He can do 20 of that. He's 40 when he comes home, 45, 50, that's a problem. So you got to be careful about that kind of stuff. So opening, I want to build more rapport and humanizing this kid. So that's kind of where I'm going with that.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. So, for Lady Jenny, I want to make it very clear for everybody that's watching. I attended this trial. I was in the courtroom sitting behind Carmelo Anthony. A witness came in and did testify. 2 of them actually said that Austin used a football lineman's tackle on Carmelo Anthony. So if you stick around and we get to that witness, I'm going to read you through the notes and you'll determine which individual said it first. But I'm sorry you're hearing other things on other channels, but I'm an eyewitness. And when the transcripts come out, you should see the same thing. All right. So thank you for your comment, but it's not accurate. I can guarantee you too. And if you go to some of these other channels of people that were in the courtroom, they should testify to what they've seen exactly the same. Now, let's move on to the cross examination of the video analyst. One of the jurors, the Middle Eastern man, asked to be excused. So we were a little amazed by that. What did it mean? Did it mean he didn't want to move forward with the case or what have you? But we came back. The defense really did not have a lot of questions for the video expert, other than asking him, when you zoom in, do you lose a lot of quality? They were focused on points of that sort. So, Calvin, does that make a difference? That seemed to be the main target of Toby Shook.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you zoom in, you do lose quality depending on what kind of camera you have. And then I think with the rain being an issue, you're kind of getting droplets along with that camera angle. And then you got a tent. It's kind of hard to zoom in. I think that's kind of, where you have your issues. And I'm going to tell you this, school districts are notorious for buying old equipment that does not have the best quality. And so, I think that part of it, you're going to lose some quality there. You're not going to have a whole lot there.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We have Uda for your minute. Okay. We'll have Mama Flip for your minute.
Yes, hi. Thank you very much. You said something. The juror being excused. I hope Uda will come back on. When the juror was excused in the Diddy trial, didn't they have an explanation of why the juror was excused?
No, in this particular case, the juror asked to be excused, but the only point from the cross examination of the video witness is that they basically ask him, does the video lose quality when they zoom in? The defense was only focused on the quality. There wasn't a lot that they elaborated on from that witness. So, your thoughts?
Okay, I do want to talk about the witness excuse at a later date. In regards to the video itself, I do have an issue with the manipulation of videos. I think that came out a lot on the Alexander brother cases and also the Diddy cases. I think even Luigi, they mentioned certain, when you change pigment, was it the Diddy trial that they had to go back? It was the Diddy trial where they had to go back and show the original footage or recording, because they felt that the expert manipulated the video, right? So they felt there was a big argument about if it is it a legitimate, realistic view of an occurrence if you zoom in, zoom out, cut, replace the video and put it in a certain framework. I don't know if you remember that in the Diddy trial, Mel. So I'm curious if that even came out. If there was any question as far the quality or the realism of telling the story because the videographer or whoever the tech made some changes, zooming and everything like that. That would be my statement.
All right. So just before we move to Shadow, they actually showed us the video, but you could only see from across the arena. When you go to the stadium, like people are at the Knicks stadium tonight, you have the gates where you could go to the concession stands, and then you come back and sit on the bleachers. So basically, Carmelo came in, he went back out, and they had the west and the east video. He walks through the west frame into the east, but there's a dead spot in between that they couldn't determine. So we know what happened under the tent. The tent only shows Austin first going at Carmelo really fast, and then you see them go back to the left. But because it's so far away, they have to zoom in. And when they zoom in, they lose quality. And that's what the defense focused on. All right, Shadow. And I said that for those in the audience that are just coming in. Go ahead.
I think focusing on the quality of the video without actually explaining why the quality matters, because we already understood the outcome of the video, was just kind of a waste of time. I think that cross-examination didn't really have a good point. Because again, we all understand that when you have to edit a video, when you have to enhance, when you have to zoom, I felt like he was just, that was a hill that you didn't really need to die on. So I understand why he cut it short. And I kind of agree with that, actually. I don't think that was a bad maneuver.
Okay.
Land.
All right. Okay. Very good. Calvin, you want to take us home with this one?
Well, it's it's a video, and then you have to kind of zoom in on it because of the quality of what it is, and then because of the rain, and then like I told you before, a lot of these school districts, they might not even have the best quality video in the first place, but I don't think those cameras were actually in the best place to be able to get us footage like we would have liked to have. So you only are going to get to be able to see so much. You just can make out kind of who's who a little bit, and you may not get full detail, but you can at least see who's who in terms of who's who, and then how fast that person was moving. So I think with that being said, I think that if you're a defense attorney like myself, you can make use of it enough to get where you need to be. And I think maybe that wasn't used well enough there.
Okay, before we move on to the
Can I ask
first
a secondary question? Sorry.
All right, go ahead. 30 seconds, go ahead.
Calvin, I just want to, no, I don't even need that much. Mr. Calvin, question. Is it possible for that defense attorney to have asked him if he had seen any other videos besides the one that they presented? Would that have been prejudicial?
No, it wouldn't have been prejudicial. He could have asked them that. But I think he probably already knew the answer to that he probably hadn't. Because one thing I will tell you about Texas, if the prosecution had their hands on the video, they're turning it over. And most people will go, well, really, how do you know? You will get disbarred for that. You'll lose your license. I have known 3 or 4 attorneys here in Texas in the last 3 or 4 years not turning stuff over, you lose your license. So they don't play with that no more.
Hold on. All right. So We have Genesis that just came to the platform. Genesis, ask Calvin your questions and introduce yourself, and then we're going to proceed to the first coach witness.
All right, so I just have a simple question. Lately, there has been a new order to block any new people from being able to see the video. Is that a normal thing that happens in any case? They used I think Texas something like some statutes to make it so that now that the case is over with, that no one can go and get those same videos and watch them media and otherwise. Is that a normal thing? Because I know that there's a thing called the Freedom of Information Act. You know, does Texas law like kind of get around that? Like to where,
Some sometimes it just depends on the situation. Now, if there are minors in that video, that's an issue. I try to tell people anytime you have minors, because I think one of the reasons why the judge did not want cameras in his courtrooms because there was a lot of minors that were testifying. So if there's minors in those videos, that could be a reason why that they don't want people looking at those videos. And then some people will say, well, they can use the blocky blotches and then get so you can't make out certain things, but then you got to redact the video. And then I remember I was kind of semi-involved in that first 48 situation where the first 48 people got in the city of Dallas got sued because they blocked out a guy's face, but they left his legs. And I knew who he was. So the hood knew who he was. I was like, that's country. I was like, oh man, he in trouble. Because if I could call him out, everybody else could call him out. And so it's one of those things where they can do that stuff, and they are starting to do a lot of that. When stuff's involved in discovery, and then sometimes some of those videos can have people other personal stuff in the identifying characteristics, and so that's why they're starting to limit who can see them, and then sometimes they just get rid of the stuff as a whole. Now, if an appeal is still pending, they'll hold on to the copies as exhibits, but a lot of the times that's kind of what they're starting to do because of some of the stuff that people have been doing with the stuff.
And one last question. If there were other videos, because based on what the media said, they collected video camera evidence from people. Right after it happened, media stories, the police reported that they actually got video footage from witnesses on the scene. What happened to that video footage? And is it like a matter of like, we don't want to have it be seen, and so therefore it will never ever come? You'll never see this video footage again?
Well,
Because
I
they
would
erased it,
imagine
or
number one is if it's raining like everybody else, it can't be good. And if they did grab video footage, they have to share it. It probably wasn't of good quality, because I would imagine unless people are inside that tent taking video, it's probably not good video. And then in addition to that, any videos that they had in their possession, they had to turn over to the defense, because if they don't turn that stuff over and they have it, that's a discovery violation, and that you don't want to do that.
Okay, very good. So according to court, there was no other video. When we get to Eddie's testimony, you're going to see that he claimed to have recorded the event, but he said he was fake recording and he cut his phone off. So now we're going to move on to the coach. The coach is Coach Starr. And let's see here. He said that Austin's face was purple. He's the coach that actually went to get the crock pot. So I noticed that each one described Austin as being a different color, but it's not a big deal, I guess. He says it hadn't really rained that day, and he received a lot of pushback on the defense for that. He talked about how when the defense actually asked him, "Hey, can you identify Carmelo?" He says, "Yeah, look at him. He's sitting there now today. he's clean cut. But if you go back to that day, he says, pull up the picture. When they pulled up the picture, they showed he had those little dreadlocks. And he said, look at him then. So he kind of demonized that if you have those dreadlocks, it kind of made him look like he was a criminal of some sort. This is coming from a black coach by the name of Coach Starr. And then he says, after the event, it started raining more. Uh, he says he wants to be vertically aligned with his AD, whatever that meant. Centennial was the name of the school, and he said they did not have their tent, and the coaches were unaware. It was later testified they didn't have their tent because they didn't have enough guys to help put it together.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that linebackers are big. He was kind of hedging to me a little bit, but I want to give my opinion. He said that Austin was trying to get bigger and he was working out. And he said at one point, Austin got up to be 220 pounds versus Carmelo, who was around 140. And he said Melo looked like he was about to cry. So that's from Coach Starr. Those were his observations. Calvin, you want to start?
I think that describes, number one, the size differences, which is good on that end. I don't like the fact of him pointing out the hairstyle, trying to demonize the kid. He kind of used what we call a cultural cue there that I did not like. But once again, it's a kid from his school. And I think one thing that we all need to think about here, because I've had a bunch of people say, well, why didn't any of Carmelo's coaches come to his aid or defense? And I try to explain to people the coaching community in the Dallas-Fort Worth area is it's a fraternity. And you don't want to be the coach that testified for Carmelo because you're moving around from school to school. Sometimes you're moving around a different school in the same district, right? My nephew actually, I call him my nephew. He's my best friend's son. He's basically my nephew. He comes to me as uncle. So my nephew basically coached both kids. He was at both schools, different years. So the coaching community, you could be at one school one year, same district, another school next year, have a different set of kids, So that's one of the things where I think that particular coach was like demonizing him because this kid gets killed. And I think a lot of people are kind of riding for him because you have a kid from Louisiana coming down here and doing this. So I think that was a cultural cue as well as an outsider cue.
Okay, thank you for that. Uda, your minute.
I agree with Calvin though. I've been thinking about the size differences. It seems that to me as well that Austin was coming to even his brother's side as well. Because it seemed that Austin was a protector of his brother Hunter. So Hunter says, I think Hunter probably initiated the whole thing at first, and which led Austin to get into the mix of the whole situation as well. Being the bigger brother, even though they're twins, he's 4 minutes earlier. He came out 4 minutes earlier than Hunter. I think the lack of the coaches not having their tents prepared, them having their tent up could have stopped all of this from even happening. So, like, they're partly to blame for this whole situation of not having their own tents. And why are you not making sure, if the prosecution is going to say that each tent is like a locker room, how these kids don't have their locker room? Why they don't have their side? So I think that was a misstep right there on the coaching side. As far as the grown-ups go, I think that they dropped the ball with that. And I think that, kids will be kids. Kids need to be governed. Kids need to be watched, looked after. And I just don't think that there were no adults that was there to supervise these kids. You know what I mean? I just think that a lot of the adults there as well filled both sides of the situation as well. I think the adults and the coaches as well.
Okay, Mama Flips, your minute.
There's a saying, not all black folks are king folks. That's an old saying. It's a Southern saying. It's not a Haitian saying. It's not a Caribbean saying. It's a Southern saying in Texas. You should know it. Those coaches are cowards. All of them are cowards, straight up and straight. And they could come at me if they want to. You can't tell me that you over here trying to allege that a kid have dreads. That means that he's a thug and he's a criminal and we should expect him. I have dreads. I have dreads. So what are we saying? What was that about? Why don't we talk about I have to be careful. I'm about to get hurt. I don't want to talk about the victim and his brother. As a fellow survivor, I'm going to respect the family. You understand what I'm saying? But I didn't like that. I said the thing is, he could have came in and he could tell the facts of what happened without making these implied observations that actually had nothing to do with the case. You're trying to say, oh, they cleaned him up right now, but he was a dirty bum with dreads, and that's why he acted that way. That's ridiculous. And I don't care if the coaches are black. All right? We already know what time we on as black folks. We know a lot of our peoples are GOP and Republican, Trump supporters, and they love that side of the world. God bless them. But we can't expect them to actually represent and protect us. Now, that's because of his view as far as Kamala Harris, right? If he was factual and he stayed on the facts and said, this is what happened on both sides, I wouldn't be coming at him. He should have just kept it like that. I do appreciate the fact that he did acknowledge that Austin was bigger than Carmelo. I like that part of it because that's a factual thing, right? But I just didn't like it. I don't like his testimony. I think that he was just pretty much trying to steer it a negative way. And I wish that he didn't do that.
But look, the one thing to what Mama Flip is saying, though, so that's how come I kind of think about the nickname with the mellow. It could come across like it's kind of street. It could come across like it could be perceived as this thug type of thing with calling him mellow. It's the same with how they're comparing it with these dreadlocks or this hair that's like this. That's why I don't know sometimes with the mellow name and them calling him mellow as well.
I want to say something to y'all, and I think this is where we also have to be careful even with that. I always tell people, black or white, if that's his player, he may be looking at it, hey, that's the guy to kill my player. So you got to be very careful. Even I hate that he referred to him like that, but some people are going to be like, that's my guy. You killed my guy. And so you always got to be aware of that. Because look, I'm a former college athlete, former high school athlete. My coach, my high school coach, is still in my life today, and that's still my guy, and I'm still his guy. And we ride for each other, and that's gonna happen till we until one of us go to dust. And my one of the college coaches just passed away. He's white. Same thing. We don't care. I mean, we ride to the end of the world. So you got to be, sometimes that can be the thing that maybe that anger that he had about losing his guy. And so you got to be very careful about that. I still don't like it, but I know how it is when somebody takes one of your guys away from you. And from what I hear, that was one of his guys that performed well for him. So you always got to take that kind of crap into account when you have that kind of stuff in, because even though we may see black, white, he's looking at this guy like, that's my player. That's the guy that spent 2 or 3 years with, and you the one who took him, even if he was being a butthole asshole. So you got to be careful when you do that. I still don't like the referring to him by his hair. I don't think that's cool. But like I said, you got to always be aware that that's something that's there. And then one more thing I want to say about this too as well. I'm looking at a lot of the comments, and I don't dictate how I'm going to be by people's comments, but some people are acting like, hey, just because y'all black, y'all feel like this, because y'all white, y'all feel like this. I hate that any of it happened for anybody. But after it happens, certain things have to happen to make sure that whatever happens after is fair to everybody. I don't want Hunter or Austin to die. I wouldn't have even wanted Carmelo to have to be in the situation that he's in either. And we're not all monolithic either. If black people ended up on their jury and they agreed with the state's charge, they're fully capable of coming to the same conclusion that they came to. We just want any of those processes to be fair, regardless of the personal feelings. So I wanted to make sure that I said that, and I'm gonna go ahead and let Mel have it back.
Calvin, take a moment and let everybody know who you are and what you do, please.
My name is Attorney Calvin D. Johnson. I'm a 24-year practicing attorney out of Dallas, Texas. I do Dallas and Collin County. I do state, local, and federal criminal defense. I've been to Collin County a lot. Matter of fact, Collin County is one of the first counties I practiced law in. For example, the two counties I go to the most are Dallas first and then Collin County second. I go out to Collin County courts at least about a couple of times a week, each week. So I'm out there anywhere from 6 to 10 times a month, every month for the last 20 or some odd years. And for the most part, I do Dallas, but I have great relationships out there. I know the judges and the DAs out there. I go out there a lot, and I know the lay of the land out there. And I've been doing this for almost 25 years. So that's who I am. I do this in Dallas, been running my own business for almost 25 years. And I do a lot of cases in Dallas and Collin County. So I know the lay of the land out here in Dallas, Texas.
Okay, we want to welcome
I just want to ask Calvin one thing. Based on that, you being in Collins County, as far as cases go there, do you think that trials are usually fair, especially with people that are non-YT? Do you think that for the most part, trials are fair there? What would you think about that? What do you feel?
This is what I'll say. There are not a lot of juries with black people on them because there's only 11% of the population that's black out there. Okay. So most juries will have 1 or 2 African Americans on them. In this case, I don't like the way they moved the 3 off of there. So that's a problem for me, number 1. But for the most part, I haven't had an unfair trial out there. But I've only been to trial out there probably in my 25 years, maybe 7 or 8 times. I haven't had a lot of trials out there. For some reason, things seem to work out. I've been in Judge Roach's court before. I've never had a problem in there, but then again, I had a little bit of history with him to where I may have got treated a little better. But with that being said, I haven't seen him do some of the stuff that I've saw in this particular case. Those 3 juror removals, I don't like that because that doesn't look right when you got 3 African-American educators being moved just like that. So for the most part, I hadn't seen people get treated unfairly out there. For the most part, he gives a hard damn time to the state and the defense. He gives an equal hard time to folks out there. And the courts out there, for the most part, are very conservative. If you're a defendant out there, it's kind of hard out there on you, you know? They trust their prosecutors. And that's just like a bunch of places around the Dallas area. But I'm going to tell y'all this, because I keep getting this question, and I really got to go through this. Well, some people say, well, why they do a change of venue? Let me explain to y'all one thing. Let me help you. Y'all don't want that. Y'all don't want that. I'm going to tell you why. If they're not going to let it go to Dallas, them other places around here, oh, y'all want that. Y'all don't want that. Collin, if I'm going to rank him, as far as getting a fair trial, you're going to get the fairest trial in Dallas.
Yep.
Collin's going to be ranked number 2.
It's Dayton, Collin, and Tarrant. Them the 3.
So hold on 1 second, guys, if you don't mind. I have to
see. I would have said Collin was 3, but
hold on, guys. So I'm going to introduce Queens 88, but before I do so, I watched the video of that judge. It seemed like he had a cookie cutter, just 1, 2, 3. He's going to be found guilty. I'm not saying it was planned, but he was going to be found guilty. Sentence him by the next morning, cut all his hair off, and send him in the cell. And the judge seemed like he planned. I'm not saying he. Well, let me just lay off of that.
No, I see what you're saying, because you know what? This is what I'm gonna tell y'all, and we all know, because we black people, we all know how the importance of this case to certain folks, and we know we got Governor Hot Wheels up there doing what he do, and we feel like, and that's part of the reason why people are complaining about what happened in jury selection, because everybody feel like that even they had a hand in it to make it go, and that's the deal, and that's what we have concerns about.
Okay, so let me introduce Queen 88. Are you there, Queen?
Yes. How are you guys doing? Salute to the panel. Salute to the chat.
All right, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and how you attended the trial. Just give us a little briefing.
I'm Queen 88. I'm a blogger, journalist, streamer, whatever you want to call me. I was born and raised here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I started first. I cover a lot of I cover a lot of cases, and I first started covering this case about 3-4 days after the fact it happened. And I really started going that Dominique, so that's kind of how I got, I started doxing him. He's trash, I was really going in on Dominique. And then we started covering the actual trial, and and then kind of gave that a break, start covering the Mo3 trial. That's coming up August 24th, so Mel will be in the building. Thank you. And then I started covering this trial. At first, when I first came, you guys, I didn't want to cover the trial because I knew me and I knew my attitude, and I wasn't gonna come in the trial unbiased. I already picked the side, Carmelo. You see what I'm saying? So I didn't kind of want to cover it because I would have covered it based off of what I believe, and I'm gonna stand by him. So I decided to go out there first, boots on the ground, try to get a good feel of is it gonna be racist? It's not. Then end up getting into it with Jake Lang. And then I ended up going to the trial actually inside the courtroom that Friday. So I got into it with him Thursday, and I went inside the courtroom that Friday. And the stuff that I seen Friday, I'm like, I'm not a prosecutor, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a politician. It was wrong. I mean, it was weird. I told Mel the vibes. I felt like I was Carmela on trial. I'm like, damn, I can't cough. Like, come on, man. Like, he wasn't playing. He wasn't playing. And the defense, it was horrible. They barely did any objections. Let's start there. Barely did any objections. The judge would joke with the prosecutor. I just felt like it was just let's play hanky panky for a little bit, and then let's go ahead and close in. Make them guilty and ship them off. It really didn't feel like a trial, if you ask me. It didn't feel like a trial at all. I witnessed a public lynching. Most deaf. I witnessed a public lynching. And it was disgusting.
Can I say something for y'all? One of the things that I was always concerned about is how everything happened, and I did other podcasts earlier. The way that Carmelo, maybe in that team, handled picking an attorney, doing that damn press conference. Oh my God. Don't even get me started. That was a no-no. When they did that, and Mel will tell you, we've been talking, me and Mel been on this a long time. I said, when they did that press conference and the whole world was watching, Mel, what I tell you? Mel tell you. I was like, it's a wrap, Doc. Shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have done that at all. So that young man was behind the 8 ball since the beginning. And, it's tough. It was tough. So, when you look at that situation, you already know that's a Republican county. He's gonna have to take care of the people who elected him to do the job they feel like he needs to do. And one of the things I always tell people, when you move to a Collin County, um, those are going to be your peers. So don't get upset when you got one juror that maybe you're comfortable with, or two jurors you're comfortable with, and three max that you're comfortable with. That's something that you got to think about when you move out there. So that's just me.
So can I ask you? Oh, go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
Let Mama Flips go for a second, and then we'll have Queen 88 come in.
Thank you. Calvin, actually, the question was for Mel, the coach. The coach that testified, was that the coach that Carmelo Anthony ran to and spoke to about the self-defense?
No, that was a different coach. The coach that we've discussed so far is the coach of the tent. He was the coach for Austin and the counterparts.
Okay, so he wasn't aware that he said it was self-defense. Also, another question for Mel. So if that coach now, and I guess Mel or Calvin, if that coach felt inclined to
And
be,
just so you know, Queen 88 was in court most of the time too, just so you know. But go ahead.
Yes, hi, Queen 88, welcome in. If that's the case, then there's been a lot of conversation about the behavior of Austin, right, and the behavior of the twins, and there's been a lot of I heard some reporting that one of the twins had an issue with one of the coaches, right, in which he was disciplined. Was that the coach in which he was disciplined? Do you know?
Okay, so this coach that we're talking about now, Coach Starr, basically he said that Austin wasn't living up to the requirements of a team. Sometimes they'd be having functions, and then Austin and some of the others would go and they'd be doing other things on the bus, and he kicked them off the team. And so the day that Austin lost his life, he sent a text message, and we saw the exchange in court. Queen can testify to that. And in the text message exchange, he says to Austin, "I need you to be a leader." Now, the prosecution tried to use that to say, "I need you to be a leader of the tent." But that's not the case. He was telling him, "I need you to step your game up." Okay. So, and even as the leader of the tent, you can't hit somebody with a football move. And I'm going to show you the actual individual that said that Austin hit Carmelo with a football move, a linebacker drill or press. All right, next. Okay,
Thank you so much, Kelvin. And the reason why I'm sorry, Mel. The reason why I asked those questions, Kelvin, is that I think it kind of pushed back of that he loved the kid so much and that he went against Carmelo for Austin. I understand what you're saying, but I just wanted to make sure that we're aware that what the coach said about Austin. Thank you so much, Mel.
Okay, so we're going to do our next round. All right, we start off with Tiffany Whitaker. She was another coach of 8 years. She was the athletic director. She said Austin was blue in color when she saw him. She told the jury she put her hand up for Carmelo. Carmelo, when he ran on the field, I think she was the first person to stop him. She put her hand up. But under the defense, they said, "Well, did you know that when you first testified when this happened, you said you told the detectives that you actually put your hands on him?" So there was a discrepancy in her testimony. In court, she said she just put her hands up. She said that Carmelo was emotional. He was crying. He was very upset. And it's okay. And she also verified that it was okay to mingle under tents. So in other words, you'd have like Carmelo or Austin, and so they would come there to do like a run, a jump. So they might run in the morning at 10, and their next run is at 3 p.m. So in that time, they're walking under each other's tents. Some of them went to middle school together. Some of them went to elementary school. So they know each other. And that's why we're going to see later that Eddie's going to testify that 10 days previous, him and Carmelo were mingling together, sitting together. So this is Tiffany's testimony. She's the first one to stop Carmelo after he runs on the field. Remember, the prosecutors say he tried to run outside. This is substantiating that he actually ran on the field, not what the prosecution said in the opening arguments. Go ahead, Calvin.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about that, that's some very important information. Uh, that information kind of is what it is. I mean, it's very informative. I'm glad that it came out, and you just kind of have to. It's just kind of there, and you use it in context of kind of what's going to happen next. And so I just think it's there. You have to use it, and I think it's gonna be applicable later. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Okay. Udo, on go your minute.
You could go on, Cat. I'm about to check myself.
Okay, Queens 88, your minute.
My bad. I'm over here banging in the chat. I'm sorry. This is something new to me. I'm on mute. Let me just handle this chat if you don't mind.
Okay, no problem. Okay, Queens Flip, your minute spent on this.
Mama Flip, thank you so much.
Oh Lord, I said your son. Damn.
You said my son name. Thank you.
I got you.
I'll say hi anyway.
All right.
Um,
But her son is Queens Flip. He's near and dear to this channel too. Go ahead.
yes, thank you so much. Yes, so I'm ignoring the chat. So thank you, Queen. I think who's here? The young lady. What's her name?
Queens 88. Yes.
Queens 88. Thank you for getting on the chat because I'm ignoring them. So you said, okay, hold on. I just want to make sure because I did have something before you changed my name. We're talking about, okay, so first of all, if he's 17 years old and he did something that he was upset about, yes, he would run out, right? He would run, and he was running through the track because he got himself in trouble.
Mhm.
He hurt somebody, so he's
Mhm.
upset about that. He did not try to escape because he could have
Mhm.
escaped if he wanted to. He's a football player, even though he had the seizures. You could tell that he was in good fit. He could have
Yeah.
ran out of there and ran all the way home and stuff like that. He did not do that. He stopped. He spoke to the coach. Also, it was my understanding, based on earlier testimonies, that they were chasing after him. So after what he did to Austin, he still felt his life was in danger. So we should consider all of this stuff before we make these assumptions that he intentionally tried to unalive the person that he tried to escape. His behavior that day showed none of that. Thank you.
Let me piggyback off that. I'm sorry, if you don't mind. The body cam that Officer Cortez actually showed, if he was trying to run away, clearly he wouldn't have put his hands up. They were on separate, opposite sides of the fence. Correct, Mel? They're on the opposite side. He was on the other side where Austin was, and then Carmelo was inside the field on the opposite side of the fence. Right? When he told him to put his hands up, Carmelo put his hands up. If that's the case, Carmelo could have just ran out the venue. He stayed where he was. He was by his coach. Then on top of that, he put his hands up and he apprehended him. And this is when I felt it was remorse as to why the charges should have been dropped down, because he was crying like a baby. He said, I told him not to touch me, and he did. Then he said, is he okay? As he was putting him in handcuffs and put him in the back of the car. So he definitely showed remorse, crying like a baby. I've been around a whole bunch of illers, okay, and drug dealers. So one thing I do know, they're not going to have any remorse when they do something they intentionally did. That was unintentional. I'm on mute.
Okay, very good. We have a super chat from Coffee and K9s. Thank you very much for the support. 2 questions for Queens 88. Can she elaborate on the video she saw in court? She stated that she saw Hunter choke Carmelo. I'm curious if anybody else saw this. How many days did she attend court? Okay, this seems more personal.
Oh, baby, they beat him. When I tell you they beat my baby, they beat him, and you could tell they beat him because they tried to alter the mug shot in the actual on the actual news, Fox 4, 5, 8, and 11. You could test to that. What's this man over here to the top right? The mug shot looked like a clear mug shot. The mug shot we seen, his face was swollen all on the side. They pulled out some of his dreads and so forth. They beat that baby. They beat him. They choked him. They grabbed him by his shirt. Oh yeah, they were slanging him around. They did a lot. And I'm on mute.
Okay. So, Calvin, did you want to go? Go ahead.
Yeah, basically, it kind of shows, and what I say is going to be applicable later. It's just that it kind of shows he wasn't really trying to leave the venue. I think he was just getting out of that particular situation at that time, trying to get away from where they were. I don't think he was trying to run all the way out of there. That's what I see in that. And then he does seem like, I heard some alleged that he's going to be okay kind of information that was there. I don't think he thought he did what he did. So I just think that I think that's more of a of him to his mindset of maybe not thinking that he murdered him, or maybe not thinking he set out to murder him. You know what I mean? So that's what I had to say about that part of it.
Right. In the video that we saw in court, you see it's blurred, it's across the stadium. All you can make out is you see Austin running to the right, and then you see immediately, you see when I went over the numbers, it's only 5 seconds. So in that 5 seconds, you see Austin go to the right, and then they go to the left. You can't really make out a lot of the details about what's going on there, but now they actually showed the jurors a different updated version of the video that was enhanced. They would not allow the audience to see it. So they took a break. When we came back in, they had a special TV pointed toward the jurors, and the attorneys went and sat beside the jurors. They looked at this television, and they had Carmelo sitting at the table by himself. They would not let those of us in the gallery see this video. It was, but we could hear the description, and basically it was the same video, but it had been enhanced. And from what they described, there was a round circle enhanced around Austin as he walked around, and they didn't show what was under the tent. So the defense attorneys asked, so why didn't you highlight what was happening under the tent so we could see it? He says, because the prosecution didn't request that. And we're like, well, that doesn't do us any good here, and you're not letting us see it too. So what is it that's off? Typically in New York, and I know we're not in New York, but they let the audience see the same things pretty much that everybody else gets to see. Uh, uh, let's go with Queens 88. You want to talk on it?
Yeah, I think because they edited the video, point blank period. One thing I did notice, Mel, they kept zooming in on the aftermath. That's one thing I did notice, because I felt like they were trying to pull on the public's heartstrings. The jurors, us in the chairs or whatever, they were trying to pull on our heartstrings. They kept playing the aftermath. Look, we know he did this, right? We're not negating the fact that he did this. He said he did this. But the reason why he did this was self-defense. So we need to zoom on, is this self-defense or not? So we need to see the altercation before the aftermath. They really failed to show that. Correct, Mel?
Yeah, we didn't see any other video other than the video from the arena, and that was it. All right. So, Queens, if you're done, then I'm going to have Calvin and then go to Mama Flips.
Well, I always tell people, when you have that side's witness, those side's experts come in, they're definitely going to do what their side's experts do. They're there to enhance their case. That's what you do. I thought maybe the defense could have had their own person do the same thing. Maybe that would have been helpful, because they're only doing what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to paint that in the light that they're supposed to paint it in. The defense, it's their job to paint it in the light that they're supposed to paint it in for their defenders. They're only doing what they're doing. Like if you're defending someone, you got to know that piece of evidence is going to be important. So get your own person to do it. That's what I thought maybe could have been done there.
Okay, Mama Flips.
I want to say that I believe that there's more videos. I know we want to concentrate only on the video that was shown. I think that the video that was shown was biased against Carmelo. It doesn't tell the whole story. I, for one, believe that there is a lot more videos out there because you can't tell me a bunch of kids is in a tent participating. They see a fight, their cameras are not out. I think a lot of the parents deleted the videos, especially in the case of Eddie, where he said he had a video and didn't have a video. I think his parent and their parents deleted videos so it can't be used. I think the prosecutor did not go after any of those other videos because they know that if they, just like Calvin said, if they got the video, they were supposed to turn it in. So they didn't ask for nothing except for that one video, right? So I think the whole video thing was a sham. I do believe what Calvin said that what the defense should have done, just like they did in the Diddy trial, they went into nausea of every piece of evidence over and over again by several experts. The recording, the video, they had to do confirmation with each other whether they're going to accept the piece of evidence and it doesn't depict. They had to both sign off whether it doesn't depict the actual story. I think all of that was a failure on the part of the defense in this trial.
Okay, very good. So we're going to move on to the next witness. His name was Vincent Hooper. He was 6'2", black guy, 240 pounds. He gave us his testimony. When Tiffany, the previous the director that I just talked about, she stopped Carmelo. She said she handed him off to Vincent and told Vincent not to let him go. Vincent testified that he put his hands around Carmelo. Queen 88 just touched on this. He said that he asked him basically, what did you do, son? And Carmelo basically said he hit me first. Okay. He testified that he walked away from Carmelo for a little bit, came back to him. Carmelo didn't try to run. That was key because the prosecution made it seem that Carmelo was trying to get away. So that would have been a perfect time to make a run for it. So he came back, he grabbed him by his shoulder, and he says, young man, you basically ruined your life if this man dies, young boy dies. And Carmelo says he's not going to die. And then he broke down and started crying because he realized that Austin may die. Okay, so I won't talk about the officer. That'll be the next witness. We're just staying focused on one witness at a time. Calvin, you want to start off?
I think that was some good testimony because it kind of contradicts some of this narrative that he was trying to, get away. Like he's like his run forward, run forward, run. It kind of contradicts some of that narrative that he's trying to get away. I think that that's a good thing for him. And I think that's some good testimony that could be used to help him out.
Okay, very good. Queen 88.
My apologies. I stepped away. I'm back now.
Okay, all right. Mama Flips.
I agree. I think that testimony pretty much was factual. It shows exactly what happened after his immediate reaction and his thoughts and stuff like that. It shows that he didn't believe that he unalived Austin. It showed that he actually felt remorse for getting into an altercation with Austin, and it also showed that he wasn't trying to run. And it also shows as a child. Again, he was 17-year old and he was a child, and his mind is not fully developed. It took an adult to tell him, son, you're in a lot of trouble, for him to realize he was in trouble. So that's how I feel about that.
Okay, very good. Calvin, what do you think as far as his intent based on the story that was just told in regards to this coach?
Um, I think it's more of a manslaughter as opposed to a murder. Of course, you're using a deadly weapon, but I don't think the intent was to. He didn't go in there with the idea I'm going to kill somebody. I think in the moment he did something that caused a death. I think that meets the definition of manslaughter. So I thought that probably I thought it should have been. And that goes back to something that if the beginning would have been handled differently, I think we could have gotten there and he wouldn't be in it on 35 years right now. But that's another conversation for another day. But I think that's where you go. And I think his actions show it was more of that, you know?
Okay, very good. So what I want to do, since we're going to probably run out of time for a bit, some people want to come up and ask questions or interject, whatever. I want to drop the link, and if you want to come up and ask a brief, you get a 1-minute question. We'll answer you. We'll try to push through with these testimonies, but if not, we'll do a part 2. Does
We
that
might have
sound
to do a part 2, y'all, because I'm going to have to go in about 10 minutes.
okay?
Because
Okay.
I think
I
a
got
part
one
2 would be
question for
great.
Calvin. I got one question for Calvin.
Okay, I'll make sure you get it.
I'm gonna drop.
Calvin.
Hold on 1 second, guys.
Hold on.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna drop the link. So here's your shot. If you want to come up now, you could ask one question. Everybody, please mute up, please. Thank you very much. All right. So hit the link, come up, and you can ask a question to any of us or what have you. If you're respectful, but if you're just coming up to be chaotic, then you just have to go. So just be respectful. This should be a great time to clarify something, correct something, whatever you feel you need to do. Just be respectful about it. All right, go ahead, Udo. Sorry about that.
Calvin,
Yes.
so during this whole thing, I didn't think that he would testify, Carmelo. But what do you think? Do you think that it would have been best for him to testify? Because looking at this case, it seems like he should have testified for his own self. Because I know after getting convicted of a charge like this and a crime like this, you're going to be sitting in yourself thinking, damn, what if I could have spoke for myself? Maybe you get a chance to speak to your remorse for the situation. Maybe this also helps you with the jury as well if you're able to speak. Do you think that Carmelo should have spoken, you being a defense attorney?
If I'm going to claim self-defense, hell yes. Who else is going to tell my story better than me? Especially if I know I got this proportionality thing that could be staring me in my face. I know I got to explain that. Nobody else is going to explain that better than me. So you have to do that. And I kind of got to get to this now. One of the problems that I have been running into here lately with my clients is some of the stuff that's on their phones, some of the stuff that's in their social media, especially, our people. We're doing too much. I mean, all of this showing guns, all this dancing with the Draco, all this pointing the gun at the screen where, all of this stuff, man. And then I got some people showing drugs on the screen. I got some people pointing the gun at the string, talking about what they're going to do to people. All of that kind of stuff is causing major problems for folks when they want to testify later. For stuff sometimes it's unrelated because two things. When you do that kind of stuff, the next thing you know, somebody asks you the wrong question while you're testifying, you answer that wrong, then all that stuff can come in. Number one. Number two, if all of that stuff comes in, not only do you have a problem in guilt innocence, when it gets to sentencing and they show you with pictures of you doing that kind of stuff, it's a wrap. Because now the jury looks at you like, not only are you guilty of this, I don't want you to get out no time soon because you got to live next door to me and you got all them guns and stuff. I don't want you out here running around with me. So in our community, and I got to say this before we get off the screen today, we got to start paying attention to our young people, what we're doing on social media and what we have it in our phones. And we need to quit trying to act like we're in a drill music video because everybody, especially seems like our young people, want to act like they're in drill music videos. And it's causing defense attorneys like myself huge problems where I can't put my clients up on the stand. And I'm just going to leave that at that.
Okay, Shadow, you want to get in for a few?
Yeah. So number one, as a defense counsel, I don't know if you've looked over the objections that were filed in this case so far. All I've seen is bats and objections. Do you feel like there were some objections, like when they were asking the minors if they believed that Carmelo committed murder? If that was, do you feel like that could have been a prejudicial objection?
You could object to that. I might have objected to it. I would have at least tried. I try to object to as much as possible because I want to make sure if they got a mistake, if they make a mistake, that I catch it. And so I want to try to object as much as possible. So I try to catch that. I try to object as much as possible. But some of these trials are moving so fast. Sometimes you miss stuff, but I try to object as much as I can, especially when you're asking young people to make those kind of conclusions.
Okay, very
Two more
good.
questions.
We're gonna
I got
have
two questions. Sorry.
we're gonna have Queen Tulsa News come up now and make it a question or comment.
Absolutely. So I have a question for you, Mel. Were you there on the last day and then on that Friday?
Friday for which
The
one?
trials.
For the defense or the closing arguments?
Just were you there on Friday and Monday?
I was there on Saturday.
Okay. Well, I spoke to a first responder that was there in the court, and what he said was the video that they showed was blurry. And if he was to commit Carmelo guilty or not guilty, he would have to go with not guilty because the video was not clear. Are y'all aware of that? And are y'all aware of Cowboy?
I watched the video in court. The video is blurry. As I explained earlier, from across the stadium, you could see the video. And I explained how under the tent, all you could see was Austin going to the right. He was identified by the video expert. And then you see suddenly they go to the left. Today on this show, I showed that all of this happened in 5 seconds. That's it. That's all you get under the video. There's no details, no nothing.
Okay. And as far as his defense, what if where did you see them lacking and going wrong? Where do you feel like they could have improved as far as like challenging the prosecution?
One of the things that, of course,
Male.
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
Hold on. So the only thing I observed was 2 objections the entire trial. I'm used to sitting in New York where every hour there's so many objections. So I found that to be the case. I pointed out little details right from the beginning, the opening arguments. The defense said that it happened on April the 22nd. That kind of threw me off a little bit. Not a big deal, but the prosecutors seemed to be more on top of their game. I need everybody to mute up. Somebody is not muted. So the prosecution was on top of their game and they came out with no notes. So I felt like that came over pretty well. There was a witness for the defense that the defense didn't really meet with the guy. And it actually came out in court. And then under cross-examination, the prosecution basically said, I know you quite well. So I do realize that Carmelo was under somebody else's tent. So most of those people would be unfavorable to him. But for the most part, that's what stood out to me. They seem to cower at the judge, and that's just my opinion. So that's it.
Okay, and then one last question. When it comes to his friend that, he had went to family gatherings with, spent time with him, they were friends and like a mutual friend, they were mutual friends because he was dating the girl. I won't, mention her. But what are your thoughts on that? Okay, they were good friends, they hung out, and when we get to court, everything changed. What was maybe the reaction from everybody when that was all going on?
Okay, so I'll try to break it down really fast because we're going to get to that witness. He's by the name of Eddie. I have all the notes. We're going to go through that another night. But anyway, let me answer your question as best as I can really quick. Eddie was the common denominator of all the witnesses. They all said, for a whole day, I saw each witness. I was there the entire prosecution. I saw all of their witnesses. I found That solved the whole case for me. I knew how this case was going to go. All right. And Calvin told me he was going to go down the creek. You know what I mean? So anyway, on the second day of the prosecution, all of the kids came in and said that Eddie didn't really know Carmelo, that Eddie was sitting there. Carmelo came, sat beside him, but he gave him a little fist bump, some dap. The kids kept saying he dapped him up, okay, in the modern vernacular. Eddie, when he took the stand, he kind of downplayed it. Immediately, the prosecution, they asked him all of the questions. Of course, it was very canned. Who was the aggressor? Carmelo. What was Austin doing? They all placed him as being nicey nice or whatever. Okay. Here's the thing about Eddie. Eddie painted the picture. He says that Carmelo called Austin a bitch first, and then Austin called Carmelo a bitch. But then Toby Shook, who was a defense attorney, he looks at Eddie. He says, Eddie, you testified different when this happened. Are you aware that there's a transcript and you were recorded? Eddie says, yeah. He says at that time, he says, did you hear the word bitch ass? Eddie says, no, only the word bitch was used, and he starts to swallow his saliva, it appears to me. I'm just giving you my opinion because I think he realized where this defense attorney was going. He says, well, you testified around April the 2nd, give or take, right, when this happened, 2025. You said that Austin, and he said, what you wrote then, what you said then would have been more accurate, right? And Eddie says, yes. He said, you testified that Austin said to Carmelo, who remained seated the whole time, I'm going to move your bitch ass up out of here. And Carmelo says, come move my bitch ass. So Eddie was caught, not telling the truth. Okay, the other issue with Eddie that came out is that Eddie, they asked him about the friendship. Eddie says, I know him, kind of, sort of, we know each other. So then they started to put up all the photos. Well, he says, back in 2023, didn't Carmelo date your cousin? Her name starts with a V. Eddie says, yes. Now, he says, back in 23, do you remember being at a family event and you guys took pictures? And right after that family event, you text Carmelo saying we could go on a 2-man, which means a double date. So now we're like, whoa, what's going on here now? So then they put up about 8 photos back to back. He said, so after he played, he showed photos of Carmelo with Eddie's grandma, all the mothers, Carmelo, and then you see pictures of Eddie and Carmelo taking these little giddy pictures like usually the young girls do nowadays with their tongue hanging out and funny faces, and everybody kind of laughed in the courtroom, those that found it funny. But I saw some of the family members looking like they had saw a ghost because now it's getting a little sketchy because Eddie's up there falling apart a little bit. And then this is the part he says, do you remember you guys played video games and Carmelo was playing the guitar? He was like, no, I don't remember that. And so they put it on the screen and you see Eddie playing the video game on the bed and you see Carmelo with a guitar, and they showed various pictures of Carmelo on his knees with the guitar, like they're having the time of their lives. Okay, so this is where it gets real interesting. After we get to the 8th photo, the prosecution says to the judge, okay, this enough of this, and the judge says, yeah, I think I've had enough of this too. Something like that. And so the defense attorney, Toby Shook, says, okay, I only have one more photo. And so with the last photo that they showed, the prosecutor, he looked at it and he said, I would like Vordier, right, Calvin? Is Calvin still Vordier? And so he went up to the witness, Eddie, showed it to him, and he objected to it or what have you. But that was an objection that was passed, and we had a chance to see whatever picture that was. So then so he did end up changing the subject, and then he showed that 10 days prior to when Austin lost his life, that he says to Eddie, are you aware that there was a track meet 10 days before and you guys were together? Eddie says, yeah, we were together at the concession stand. And then Toby Shook said, do you remember you guys were sitting together on the field? He said, no, I don't remember that. He said, if I was on the field, I'd be warming up. And then Toby Shook put him on the screen, and there you see him and you see Eddie and Carmelo sitting on the field together having the time of their lives. So that means that 10 days before, these guys were sitting together, but all these students came in there and they all had the same narrative trying to say that they didn't know each other, and it's not true. And the media, the mainstream media, is not pushing that truthful narrative that should be in the transcripts.
Okay, and then I'll wrap with this.
Mel, they put them on the
I'm
Summer
sorry.
Jam screen.
Yeah, they put
and
them
we
on the
said,
Summer
Mel,
Jam.
Summer Jam screen. And they put them on the Summer. And you gotta, once again, in closing, you gotta use that. What I would have done is said, hey, look, we know a tragedy occurred, and I would have tried to discredit all of those 11 or 12 witnesses in a row that came in there and told the same story. And I would have been not only do you have to question their testimony about this part, you need to go back and question their testimony about the other part. They lost their classmate and they want to do a great job of telling a particular narrative, and you can't count on them. And see, that's why I think it's even more important that the client gets to testify, because I have a way to discredit their numbers by using the Summer Jam screen situation in terms of all of these times. I don't know him. Oh, I forgot about that. I don't know him. Oh, I forgot about that too. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, I forgot about that too. Oh, I just haven't forgot about that. Oh, I just happened to forget about that too. Oh, I just haven't forget about that too. He just happened to him about 12, 13, 14 times. And so I would have been able to use that to try to discredit the high numbers that happened because I was playing an away game. So there's always ways to get to where you want to be if you have a situation like that. So I would have used that to do that.
Okay, all right. So we have some. I'm
Sorry.
going to take Mama Flips really quick. We have 2 new people that have come up, so we'll go to Matthew after Mama Flips. Go ahead and take your statement.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to read that statement, the chat to because I know Calvin have to leave, and that chat been up there all this time. Can you ask him that question, Calvin? Can you answer that question before you
Yeah,
leave?
Mel, can you ask if Eddie iCloud can be subpoenaed during the appeal? It's not really. They're not really going to subpoena him. All you got to do is use his transcript to how he answered those questions. You don't even. They're not going to subpoena him for an appeal. An appeal really goes on the record to happen in court. And to be honest with you, damn subpoena him. Show me how he answered them damn questions, and him getting busted in about 15, 16 lies in a row. That's what you want. I mean, it's right there. So I think you don't have to worry about him getting subpoenaed. I think it's a beautiful thing that he got hit about 16 lies in a row. I think that'll be great.
Can I
Okay,
ask Calvin this? Calvin,
wait,
were you aware that this?
wait.
Oh,
We gotta let Matthew go. He's been here a long time patiently. Go ahead, Matthew.
Thank you, my brother.
Yeah,
The only question I have tonight is does Mello have a case for a mistrial because Jeff was nodding his head, coaching witnesses during the trial while
No,
saying,
because the trial's already happened. I mean, he can try to get an appeal on the situation, maybe with the jurors. He probably will claim ineffective assistance of counsel. But that's going to even be dicey because he didn't testify, and which I don't get to see sometimes. When you don't testify, they stand you up in front of the judge and they make sure that you made that decision on your own.
Okay, very good. 2 Cents, are you there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
All right. Comment, question, introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the comment thing. Based upon the case, what we've been looking at, we hearing so many other things, and I know and I understand when a judge can kind of suppress information. You know, it's like, dang, if I would have known that, okay, that would have changed my decision. Now, it's going to be a rough fight. There's no way that Mello is going to do 35 years. He's not, because we know, and I still do trust in the appeal system. Now, what they did with the jurors, him and his friend, well, not Carmelo, chose to live there. These are the consequences that you may run into. These people only have one MDERS a year. This is not New Orleans. This is not Chicago. It's a whole different mindset. But when you get there, at the very least, man, you retreat. You can, but if you make the decision not to, you have to pay for those decisions that you made. It's very unfortunate for both sides at this point in time. I was just trying to let that out, man. I was like, it's based upon race. We know that. You can't exclude it. That's the world we live in. But I'm not teaching. I hope people are not teaching their kids to, if somebody put their hands on you, fire off on them like that. You know, it's 4 places you cannot harm someone: in the neck or throat, heart, face, or head. It seems savage, and that now he really does look like a savage. And I look at him like some people need to sit down for a while. And I'll stop right there. Go ahead.
This is what I try to tell people. And I've had this conversation again and again and again. It is not an opinion. This is not going to be popular. If somebody pushes you or punches you, and you stab him in the chest with a knife, you better have a damn good reason for doing so. You better be able to come in and tell me why you did it. And I explain that to people. Some people get mad at me. I've had somebody get mad at me all day. I've had people get mad at me all day when I'm explaining this to them. I'm like, listen, y'all, this is not an opinion. This is not something you get to disagree with me on. If you are going to stab somebody in the chest with a knife because they allegedly pushed you, and if they did more than push you, you need to be able to testify and say they did more than push you. But if you're just going to let that be the narrative and not say anything, if there's going to be a push and you stab them in the chest, it's out of proportionality, and you better damn well be able to come tell us why you did it. Because if you don't, you are in trouble. And you're right. That's how people are going to look at it. That's how the other side of folks are looking at it, number one. And just the way the law is in Texas is going to put you in a very, very, very difficult position, especially if you ain't going to testify.
Okay, your question, Queen Tulsa?
Yes, to Calvin. Do you feel like the state failed him because they were supposed to bring in state police or the state investigators instead of using like the local authorities? How do you feel on that?
Calvin, you hear that?
I didn't hear it. You ask it. What did she say?
She said it was supposed to bring in a state police or the local authorities, I believe.
Bring in
No,
state
I
police or
said
local
they
authorities
used
for
the
what? What do you mean?
they used the local authorities instead of bringing in the state because they had over 25 or 35 witnesses. They were supposed to call in the higher ups to bring in more
Because I can't hear her
more help
for some reason.
Okay, he can't hear you. You have to go out and come back in. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Just go right out, come right back in. All right. Queen 88. You want to talk to us?
Go out and stay out. This is how I feel. Let me ask you something to the prosecutor. You said that's a man, y'all. You said that if you do that if you stab somebody in the heart, you better have a damn good excuse, right? Right, prosecutor. Can you hear me?
Calvin, can you hear Queen 88?
I can't. Maybe I need to go back out and come back in.
Go out and come back in. All right. In the
So, Mel, let me
meantime,
ask you something, and how you guys feel at the top. So he said that if you stab somebody in the heart, you better have a damn good excuse. Blah blah blah. I'm confused with the stand your ground laws. Do you stand your ground and figure out where you're gonna stab somebody when you're in the midst of protecting yourself? Like I'm confused.
Let me try to help y'all with stand your ground.
Thank you.
Because even earlier, I think we were talking about this. Stand your ground is more to do with duty to retreat. You don't have to retreat.
Uh-huh.
And proportionality still has to be met. Even if stand your ground is there, it's more of there's no duty to retreat. So, that's where the issue is for him is proportionality. And I try to just explain that to everybody. People want to disagree with me, that's fine. But at the end of the day, that was the problem that he was going to continuously run into. And for myself, I've had that same issue be a problem for me in jury trials that I have tried. I've had clients do too much behind somebody doing something to them. You can only do so much. You can't use lethal versus non-lethal when responding, or a deadly versus non-deadly when responding. I'm not saying lethal, but deadly versus non-deadly when responding. You just can't do it. If you're gonna do it, you're gonna have the burden of explaining it, and you gotta have a damn good reason why. And 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have to be the one explaining it, because if you're not, your goose is cooked.
So you like this person in chat says, so you have to be damn near dead in order to use that type of force. Is that what you're saying? For lack of
That's
better
just
word.
is what it is,
Okay. Okay.
So Calvin, you can't hear her. Okay, I'm not sure what
Yeah,
the issue
I'm sorry,
is.
but that's just
So
that's
she said you have to be damn near dead in order to defend yourself.
no. There's no damn near dead to defend yourself. It's just you can't stab somebody in the chest because they push you. And if they did more than push you, you need to tell us that they did more than push you. If you did feel like you had to stab him in the chest, you can stab him in the chest, but you got to have a damn good reason why you did it. And I think that people need to kind of understand that if you felt like, hey, if I didn't stab this guy in the chest, they could have all 3 or 4 jumped on me and pounded me out, then you need to be able to come in and say that. But because he didn't come in and say that, you're relying on other pieces of information to get that in. The jury's not going to assume that. And then the other part of it is, I want to say this to you guys, and I want everybody to understand this one thing. If somebody pushes you, and you're not going to come in and say it was more than a push, just start there. If you're going to try to let other people come in and say it was more than a push, but you're not going to say it's more than a push. So for all intents and purposes, they're just going to say it's a push. And you stab somebody in the heart, they bleed out and they die, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we go to trial. I'm already in their tent, and I let all them people come in, 12, 13 people in a row come in and say, hey, that's what happened. And maybe 3 or 4 people come in and say something different happened. And then my teammates ain't nowhere close enough to really say for me that it happened a different way. And if they say something, they're not even really anywhere close to really be able to see it. Do you think you're going to go to a place like Collin County, you're going to sit there while that boy mama walk in there crying, daddy walking there crying, students walking there crying, all the witnesses walking there. You only got 2 people, maybe, that says some good stuff for you. The one witness that's supposed to be your friend is a damn turncoat. But I know why that happened, and I'll explain that to you in a minute. It's the Groot or flew there kind of situation, right? Eddie probably been living there all his damn life. Carmelo from Louisiana, they ain't grow up together. They ain't go to elementary or middle school, high school with him. We just been friends 5 years. My other friends, I went to elementary school with them. I'm riding with them. So that's a whole nother conversation. So not only I got that turncoat on my side, and then I got some teammates, they're 100 yards away. They don't even know, they're not even in the tent with me. And you think with that boy dying and that whole parade of witnesses coming there, the homeboy that I dapped up shaky, my teammates, they can't see. And you think I'm finna sit there while all that happened, that boy died. You think I'm finna walk up out of there? Man, y'all out your damn mind. I better testify. Now, if I testify and tell y'all, hey, man, they was trying to pound me out. They was trying to beat me up. And that makes even more sense because I am in their tent. It's a whole bunch of them. It is their teammates. It is them trying to pound me out. I am in their tent. That is their teammate. That is their team. If I'm able to come say that, I got a shot. But man, you think you're going to go out to that dang Collin County where all them people rolling up in there like that, and I'm going to sit there for 3 or 4 days and let those people walk right in, and I'm not going to even open my mouth the whole time to where I can even be humanized, and I'm going to walk up out of there? No, sir, that's not going to happen. You might not like what I'm saying, but hell, it's the truth. If you ain't going to testify, you might well go and take plea bargain, homeboy. You going to have to talk.
Okay, so can I jump in for a minute? So there's a guy, I believe his name is Jalen. I'm not going to break him down until we get to it. It's probably going to be 3 shows, okay? So Calvin, I have a question for you now. I don't know if you can answer or not. I'm going to try to get through it really quick because we're running out of time. Carmelo is sitting down. He never stands up, all right? Now, this is not defending anybody. We're discussing what happened in court. I'm asking you as an attorney. He's sitting down. He's never stood up the whole time, testified in court, every witness. Austin, some students say Hunter was the first one to start it. Others said it was Austin. Austin is clearly the one on the video that gives him this football tackle, this linebacker. Jalen, the student names it a linebacker drill or something like that. Okay, Eddie testified that when Austin went at Carmelo, who was sitting the whole time, that it knocked Eddie out the way. Not only that, another student testified that he saw Carmelo, once they started arguing, he saw Carmelo take the backpack off his shoulder and put it in his lap. Okay? And then he puts his hand in the bag. Here's the thing, Calvin. You go back to the video with Hunter and his mother talking on their front lawn. Hunter tells the mother that Austin grabbed the backpack from, that wasn't even in court. So you mean all these witnesses came into court and none of them remembered what Hunter said, that Austin grabbed the boy's backpack? And when you put it in the timeline, it doesn't make sense. So was there a second reaction? Did he grab the backpack? They struggled over it. He pulled back and then he hit him with the linebacker press, right?
See?
Hold, let me just put this out. Another boy sitting there, he saw Carmelo put his hand in the bag, right? He said, the boy, I saw him he says, I told Austin not to do it. Austin says he says, well, I don't think he had a knife in his bag because this is Frisco. So the boy told Austin, don't do it. Keep your hands to yourself. Stay over there. Okay, so here's what I want to ask you, Calvin. Carmelo is sitting down in bleachers. He's 5'7", 130 pounds. Okay. As you see in the opening arguments, Austin is 6'1". His mother said on the video with him and Hunter, when Hunter says that Austin grabbed the boy's backpack, she says that Austin is 225 pounds. That came out of the mother's mouth. He's standing up. He's 6'1". In order for him to reach down and grab this boy by 2 hands, as many people testified, he has to bend forward. But in the video, you see him moving. So he has the energy, not Carmelo. He's carrying the pressure, right? Carmelo takes that knife out of his bag, I would imagine. He whips it around as the guy's coming at him, right? Okay, so people are trying to say, oh, you're saying that Austin fell on the knife? No, he ran into it. That's for sure. The boy never sat up. He never stood up. It was testified by everybody, right? Now, on mainstream media, they're trying to say Carmelo stood up and poked the boy in the heart. I'm not saying what he did was right, but what I'm saying is when you look at what was testified in court, they're not even telling you that in the media.
He never got up. And see, this is exactly why I'm upset, that he didn't get on the stand.
I'm sorry,
Because
Calvin. I'm sorry. I got to do this, man, because I flew all the way down this. As you guys see, Uda, you know when I cover Diddy, I take good notes, right?
mm-hmm.
So, Calvin, all right, I'm 6 foot tall, right? I come over to you. You're sitting on the bleacher, okay? In order for me to grab you, Carmelo is wearing a hoodie. In order for me to reach down and grab you, I'm bending. I'm 6'1", and I'm grabbing a boy that's 5'7", and I'm putting him in the linebacker press, right? So I got to pull him up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the guy testified, that he grabbed him and he was pulling him up to stand him up. It's in the testimony,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So how much distance does he have to poke him with the knife at that point? And they testified that Austin came up a bleacher or two. Some even said 3, right? But they all said that Austin covered a couple of bleachers just to get to the boy, right? So I need you to help me understand this.
And see what? That's why I would have wanted him to testify, because that little football move sometimes will make you keep your arms and it'll make you go in here. In addition to that, like I said, if he testifies, it allows him to say exactly what happened, that he was sitting down. It allows him to say, hey, before I could get up, before I looked up, he was already on me before I could even really do. And see, that's what I'm trying to say, Mel. When the state tells you that it happens one way in opening arguments, as a defense, you got to tell them another way that it could have happened that exonerates you. If you already said that it happened, you said it happened, you just need to tell them a way that it happened that is able to exonerate yourself. And you said what bothers me, and this is what agitates me. You basically sat there the whole trial. They showed you the video, the whole thing. They gave you a roadmap of what you needed to say even before you testified. That's what agitates the hell out of me. They showed you the video where it's a big glob of whatever moving toward them, right?
In the video, we see it.
So, and you ain't testified yet. And guess what? Everybody says you sat down the whole time, so you're not lying. That can be verified. So your defense attorney can say, hey, everybody said he sat down the whole time. The video clearly shows this 6 foot, 225-pound linebacker is moving toward Carmelo Anthony in the wet rain. He can't stop because it's raining. See, you got to pay attention. See, me, I pay attention to detail. I pay attention to detail. He can't stop in the wet rain. See, you got to pay attention to detail. See, I would have used that. So, it's a little bit of stuff you got to pay attention to.
Right. Another student said that Austin was on, Taunter was on his feet behind him. I think he said about 4 feet or so. So then now you have 2 guys approaching you. So my question to you, Calvin, for the night is this. If Carmelo is sitting there and he never stands up, they're going back and forth. Eddie told the police officers on his statement that Austin said to Carmelo, we're going to move your bitch ass up out of here, and proceeded to move his bitch ass up out of there, right? Carmelo says, move my bitch ass. On the lawn, Hunter told his mother, Austin grabbed his backpack.
Yeah.
So check this out. In mainstream media, they say all of these kids didn't lie. They, for the love of God. But none of them mentioned the backpack being grabbed by Austin. They say Austin went over there and tapped him on the shoulder and said, get up. but they don't mention what Hunter said about grabbing his backpack. Not one out of all these kids, not one of them mentioned a backpack. What?
See,
Okay,
was rehearsed.
but here's my real question. I'm sorry, Queen. Just let me get this out.
Right.
Okay, so here's my question. We're gonna get back to Queen. Hold my backpack. You go to that. Okay, when I get done. So here's my
Got you.
question: If in the future, for our sons and daughters that are sitting, and you got two big guys hovering over you, one decides he want to give you he's been made leader of the tent for God's sake, and he's gonna give you a linebacker press and move your bitch ass out the tent, and you're sitting there. How many of them have to come to you? Do they need to pummel your head into the bleachers? Do they need to kick your head off? Do they need to pick you up with this press and throw your ass out the bleachers to when you can really fight back? I need you to tell me that, because this is the answer that we want to know.
No, you're allowed.
It's not lawful to stab them. I get that, whatever you want to say. But the question is, what can you do, or are you just supposed to lay there and play dead?
No, you're allowed to get them up off of you by any means. But one thing I'm gonna tell you,
by any means, whoa.
Yeah, but remember, no, but listen to me. I'm not contradicting myself.
No, I'm not saying that, but
if you're gonna do it, you got to explain how you felt in the moment, and you're gonna have to be the one to tell them. You can't do it and then not tell people what you do and how you felt in the moment. You have to justify that, hey, I had to use that. You got to tell them.
Yeah, what's your explanation for using that force?
While 15, 16 people running there and get a versions of it, and them folk in there looking at you, they don't even know how you sound. To this day, I don't even know how Camilla's voice sound. And he could be standing next to me right now and say something. I don't even know how he sound. And we've been following this case for a year, almost. That's not going to fly.
Okay. So, Mama Flips, jump in. Go ahead.
No, I think we have somebody else here. I just wanted to. Do we have somebody else that came?
No. Everybody's here spoken before. So, okay. All right. So,
I wanted to say that I completely agree with you as far as the actions and stuff like that. I wanted to just make sure that we definitely. I hear what Calvin is saying. I don't think that Calvin is saying that stand your ground is not a possibility. It's just that if you're going to use a stand your ground as self-defense, and according to my research, stand your ground is part of self-defense, Calvin, according to the law, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to explain. So Calvin is not saying it's impossible. He just said that you didn't explain it. Don't expect people, and your lawyer didn't explain it. So don't expect the people that's coming in trying to support the family to explain to us why it's stand your ground, why it's self-defense. Thank you, Calvin.
Yeah, so you want to be able to explain to them how you felt in the moment of you doing what you felt like you had to do. Nobody can tell your story like you. And I don't think with your life on the line that you should give that the chance. That's just, you shouldn't expect somebody else to be able to explain that for you. No, you do that for you. You don't let somebody else do that for you. You have to be able to testify, Mel. That's what I'm telling you. The burden of explaining to them, the burden of using deadly force, now because you have retaliated out of proportion of what came at you, allegedly. But now, guess what? You may not even be out of proportion if you talk.
So can I ask?
You don't talk, you let 15, 16 people just walk up in there and tell a version. You ain't say nothing. Man, you're not going to kill you're not going to do something that causes death to somebody. Have all these people walk in and out of there. You sit there the whole time, don't say a word, and think you're going to walk up out of there. No, sir. That's not going to happen. That's unrealistic. Nobody is going to tell me that you finna take me to trial. I'm going to sit there, I ain't going to say a word, and you're going to walk me up. No, you're not. We're not doing that. We might as well, let's do a plea. Give me a plea. If I'm not going to talk, no. If I'm not going to talk, because I'm betting on me, right? I'm going to bet on me, and I don't even get to roll the dice. You know what I'm saying? So, that's like taking, I give the equation to this, right? I'll make this analogy for everybody so we understand, right?
Can he hear me, or I need to just go back on
That's
mute?
like taking a multiple choice question. That's like answering a multiple choice question, not picking any other answers, and getting mad because you don't get the question right. You didn't pick A, B, C, D, or E, and now you're mad because you didn't get the credit for it. No, that doesn't make sense. That's what you just did. You took a chance and you didn't even get to open your mouth. I mean, I want you to think about this. That young man sitting in jail got 35 years and the jury never heard his voice. That is not going to happen to me. I'm going to take a plea deal before I do that.
So let me ask you
It's
something.
crazy to me.
Can he hear me? Can you hear me, attorney?
Calvin, can you hear her?
I can't.
Wow.
You
cannot?
can't or you
I can hear
can?
you now.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
What do you say? You
Okay.
agree?
What?
Hold on. I think Calvin is hearing me, but he's not hearing you. You have to go out and come back in. Calvin, you're hearing me, but you're not hearing Queen. Queen is trying to ask you something.
Calvin, I think you have to go out and come back in.
Okay. I'm going to do it one.
All right. Sorry about that.
Mel, can you have them stop timing me out in the
Yeah,
chat?
Let's
Thanks.
see. I
I
was
can hear
gonna.
you.
I was gonna.
No, I
Why
want
did
to
they
make sure.
bring this over here? Oh
Queen,
my God, this is
Queen, can I
crazy.
say something real quick?
It's embarrassing.
I
Go
say
ahead.
Chelsea did say something. Guys, we are a panel of different people. On this panel, I'm co-host with
Okay.
Mel. We have to be
Oh my
very
God,
careful
this ain't the one.
of not no because Queen Tulsa just said something. I just want to make sure that we all equally respect each other on the panel. That's all I want to say, Mel. Go ahead.
Hello?
Okay, so Calvin, can you hear her now? I don't know what's going on. Calvin.
Calvin, he's freezing.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Calvin right now. Let's
But
see.
Mel, I had a really good question. I wanted to know from what Calvin is saying now, does it look like? Because I'm gonna let you know I'm asking this behind the scenes. Does it look like he has a fair chance of getting an appeal, or because my dad just told me, he said if they do that, what is it called? Council. I always get it wrong, Mel. It's called something council.
Calvin, can you hear her?
It's
Can you
called
hear me?
ineffective assistance of
That,
counsel.
there you go.
But
Okay, so but my dad said that's really not. You can't just throw that out there and think that's gonna work because they can come
no,
back and say, well, they did all they can do.
yeah,
You know?
that's a lot of that won't work because what happens in
Yeah.
that situation when he doesn't testify, they really go through a lot of admonitions to make sure that is what he wants to do. And I suspect that there's some reason why he didn't testify. I think there's some things that were going to cause maybe him some problems. So I think that that's behind the scenes for some reason. But with that being said, maybe the jury selection situation might be his best chance because that's more not just Texas Constitution, that's United States Constitution as well.
Right.
So I think that's the direction I think that they're probably going to try to go first.
So
Okay,
go. So go. So, oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Can we get Tulsa's question? So I need to trade Tulsa out. So Calvin, can you entertain her question real quick?
Yes, let's go, Tulsa. Can you
I
hear
don't
you?
know. I'm a little thrown off because y'all keep
I can't
timing me
hear
out
her.
in the
Let me try
chat.
again.
I think it's a bad connection, I guess.
Yeah, it's a bad connection. Yeah, just keep that person
Okay.
down. Thank
All
you.
right.
Hi,
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. I want to address something that I keep
Like,
hearing Calvin
hold on.
say,
Hold on. We got a bad
and
connection.
he's trying to explain
Hold
what
on.
could have. Can y'all hear me?
Hold on. We have a bad
Okay,
connection.
he's
So
trying to
we
explain why
no.
Carmela,
No,
what
no.
could have negatively impacted him. But what I want to speak to in regards to that is
We lost two people.
they should not. There should not even be a defense of the jury holding the fact that he did not testify against him. If I understand correctly, That was a question that they asked those jurors. And if that is the reason, or if that could possibly be the reason why this young man was found guilty, then that means that they lied on their questionnaire. At least I feel like, the black people, they didn't get chosen because they told the truth. But we're speculating that this is what could have harmed him, and it should not have been. We all, read the testimony. Well, we all read what the media was putting out with the testimonies. We saw that that their statements were inconsistent, and I most certainly feel like they did not prove murder one beyond reasonable doubt, because I have
can you hear
all the
me?
doubt, and I'm pretty sure everybody else did too. So I
All right.
really do not understand. I understand, Calvin, you're trying to say that could have hurt him, but it should not have. That should not even be in the question, because they're not supposed to hold it against him.
Let me tell people. I always tell people, it's okay. I always tell people, yes, you have a right to not testify, and we have a right to feel like we feel. But if you're going to claim self-defense and you're going to do something out of proportion, you're going to have to rely on one or two things. You're going to have to explain why you use lethal deadly force when on a push, because you didn't testify. So you're not even getting that was more than a push in. So you're going to have to testify why you use out of proportion self-defense, which would be deadly force versus non-lethal deadly force. And so if you're going to rely on other pieces of information to do that for you, if it's my life, I'm not going to take that chance. Can you do that? Yes, you can. Is it realistic that you're going to be able to effectively do that? No. Do you have to testify? No. You have a constitutional right not to testify. And you can take that 1 to 2 or 3% chance that you're going to be able to show that you you have the right to go and use deadly force as opposed to using that non-lethal force. But that's not realistic when you are looking at a situation where you are using the fact that you used a knife to stab somebody in the heart on a push. Now, it's realistic that, hey, I got all these folks around me. I'm in their tent. They coming at me. I'm around them. If I can explain that to a jury, then that jury is going to say, you know what? I can believe that. I can understand that. But if that's going to be the case, that's going to be what I'm going to take my chance on if it's my life. Now, you can take the chance that you can get that information in another way. But if it's my life and it's my client, I'm not trusting that other way. Yes, he has a right not to testify. But if I'm going to make that assertion, then I'm going to want my client to be the one to make sure that the jury understands that I really felt like my life was in danger, so that we understand if somebody pushes you and then I use deadly force, that's going to be out of proportion. And because I use out of proportion deadly force, then I have to show why I'm using that out of proportion deadly force, or I'm going to lose. That's not up for debate. So I got to do that. So when I say he needed to testify, I'd rather do that myself to say how I felt. Like I felt I was under pressure instead of asking somebody else to do that for me, because I'm the one that's going to do them 35 years or 15 years or 20 years or whatever they give me if I don't do that. So if I'm going to go to trial, then I'm going to open my mouth and say something. Now, I don't have to, but if I don't, and if I don't explain to them why I use that out of proportion self-defense, then I'm taking a chance of being in the situation Carmelo is, which is getting all of that time and not opening my mouth why it happened to me.
Okay, Calvin. So here's a question for you that a lot of people have been asking. It's very complicated.
Okay, so Calvin, let me redirect.
No. I need
So
you to
you
mute.
said if it was your life,
Oh God.
but
Hold on.
if it was your,
One
She
second.
can't hear you.
Okay, you got to go out and come back in.
Mm-hmm.
You
can
got to
you
go.
guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so if it was your life, you are a 19-year-old child. I mean, mentally, he's still a child, regardless of the age. You are a 19-year-old child with legal counseling. Your parents don't know the law, and you don't either. You have legal counsel that is advising you that you do not have to testify because the prosecution has not proved their case, let alone the fact that you have witnesses up here. All of their statements are contradicting, all of their statements are conflicting. A couple of them got caught lying on the stand. They weren't struck. You mean to tell me that your lawyer tells you, oh, you don't have to do anything? He ain't got to testify because they didn't prove their case. You're a child. You're gonna and the parents, you're gonna follow what that lawyer says because you feel like they have your best
Yeah,
interest at heart.
let,
And
let me
so they
tell you,
told him. Drew said,
let me break it down to you. At that point, you're not a child. They're going to say you're an adult. Number one. Number two, you're still going to have to show how you use out of proportion self-defense. And at the end of the day, if you don't do that, whether you agree with me or not, whether all that other stuff happened or not, if you don't show why you went farther than using just a push or a shove or a hit back, why you used a knife, which is a lethal weapon. If you can't show that, you're still going to lose. I would rather use my words as opposed to using all of that other stuff. Because even if that other stuff happens and I use that deadly force, I still got to do that. And I always tell people all the time,
"Can't
it's
hear me.
great that you disagree with me. You can.
I can't
But
hear."
it still goes back to the same thing.
Gotta go out
You
and come back.
still have to, you still have to do that, whether
Okay.
you
What
agree
you
with
said
me
to
or
me? I
not.
told him. I
That
said,
still
Kevin,
has to
let
get
me
done.
redirect.
And the
You
best way that is going to get done, there's no redirecting. At the end of the day, you still have to do that. I like people, I mean, you can disagree with me on it, but the law is the law. If you use out of proportion self-defense, you're going to have to show why you use that out of proportion self-defense. And that's going to be, hey, I felt like my life was in danger, or I felt like I was in danger of a serious bodily injury. And you're going to have to do that. And if you're going to do that, I'd rather do that with my words than trust anything else.
Okay, Calvin. So some people are saying, and I'm going to get to our new person questions to ponder. Some people are saying that there was no charge for a weapon the day that this happened from the officers. And then others are saying, well, at least in court, the prosecution called it a knife very clearly. The
Mhm.
defense called it a multi-purpose tool that had a knife. I think it had
Yes.
like six different features, right?
Mhm.
So
Yes.
Yes.
so according to Texas, how does this work? Because this is so confusing to me. I see it as
Of course,
being
sir.
a knife,
Yes. I can explain to
but it's
you.
supposed to be a multi-purpose tool.
It
It's
is
a
a
multi-purpose
multi-purpose.
tool that has a
It's
knife, and ultimately, I would imagine that they probably took blood off the knife. I mean that's what I would imagine. So that's just kind of what it is. And so at the end of the day, if you use that particular tool, a knife part of that particular tool, if you're going to use it as a deadly weapon, it's a lethal weapon. It could be used to kill somebody. Hell, it actually killed somebody. So if it can be used to kill somebody, you're going to have to be able to explain that. And what I'm explaining to everybody, it's great. Yeah, no, you don't have to testify when you go to trial. You have a constitutional right not to testify. But when you start claiming self-defense and you understand that your response in your self-defense has to be proportional and it's out of proportion, and you have to show why you use out of proportion deadly force to a push because you didn't testify, I'd rather do that myself. I'd rather be the one to say, hey, I'm the one who was scared. I'm the one who had the seizures. I'm the one who was sitting down and didn't get up. I'm the one who is 130, 140 pounds, and I got 400 pounds of two guys running at me that play tackling position, and I play offense. So I'm going to be the one that's the problem.
Okay, but when you walking in, one of the kids testified that they came through like a metal detector or something. Only one mentioned it. So can you get this tool through there or not? Is it?
Man, those things are trash. Those things are trash. People get through that. People get through there all the time
No, no,
with
no.
stuff.
But I'm saying, is this tool a knife? I mean, how is the person standing there for
Brit.
security? Because that's the part of most people would say it's a knife, but can you frame it
Yes,
as a
sir. But
multi-purpose tool?
yes, you can, and it's
It's a
respectfully,
multi-purpose
sir.
tool that got a knife in it. I
Sir,
mean,
respectfully, if I
there's
was
plenty
feeling
of things that
irrelevant.
They got a knife, a corkscrew, a bottle opener. I mean, there are plenty of
Is it
things.
a weapon? Is it a weapon?
Yes.
Okay,
It can
that's
be
what I want
used
to
as a
know.
weapon. It can be used as a tool, and it can be used as a weapon.
I
The
mean,
most important point is the
But
functionality,
they
is the
they they let you
utility.
know
He
that
can't
it's
hear you.
prohibited.
Sorry, one
They
second.
let you know it's prohibited. Like when you go into the courthouse,
There you
you
go.
carry one of those with you, they tell you can't
Okay,
carry it
there
in.
you go. Okay, all right. That's the point I'm trying to get to, because some people are saying, because even like when you had, I
Yeah.
think one of the guys said it just had a 3
Uh,
inch, like a little poker. So anyway, I just
yeah,
wanted to get
it was
your
about the yes, sir.
go
What
ahead,
Attorney
go
I can hear
ahead.
Cal,
you.
Questions to ponder. Go ahead.
thank you. I think you all can hear me. Thank you. What
Yes, we can hear
Attorney
you.
Calvin is stating is wonderful, and he is correct. First, in regards to the blade was legal. It was prohibited by the school, prohibited, but it is legal. So the issue in and of itself is not the blade. It's exactly from what Attorney Calvin is alluding to, what he's stating is the utility, how it was used, the function. That is problem number one. So him having it, like the existence of the blade, that's not the problem. It's how it was used. That's the issue number one. Number two, what Attorney Calvin is stating in regards to self defense is absolutely fantastic. And this is something I think a lot of us, um, we clearly did not touch on. And just seeing Attorney Calvin here reflects the importance of having Black attorneys. And I don't want to go too down the rabbit hole, but when you
You're cutting out a little bit. All right, Calvin, you want to go in?
Yeah, can I say this to everybody who disagrees with me tonight?
was
Yeah, go ahead. Keep saying what you're saying. I can hear you
excuse
again. Go ahead.
Oh, I don't want to. What I said, if I may repeat myself, Attorney Calvin, the
Go ahead.
importance of having Black attorneys, someone who's going to understand the experience and just our position when it comes, our position before the law. Everyone has a very different, unique experience. Not saying that Carmelo's attorney was against him, but just hearing from what many of you are saying, especially the past few days, it doesn't appear that he was 100% giving Carmelo. As many of you have said, he's a teenager. His family, they're not attorneys. They're not even from Texas. They don't have any connection into this particular court system, like the Collin County DA, Dallas County DA. His family doesn't know. They're from Louisiana. Not having your people to be on your side and give feedback that could be to your benefit. So it does appear that Carmelo and his family just not have may not have been given feedback that really would have been to Carmelo's benefit. Because just hearing Attorney Calvin right now, Attorney Calvin is making it very clear, which many of these YouTube attorneys are not making it clear, is the disproportionate factor. You have to explain why you are responding to a push with, with a deadly weapon. Let's be honest here. He did stab him. So everything Attorney Calvin, it really touches on not just the testimony, but also Carmelo's state of mind at that particular moment in time. That's what we need to understand. And that kind of goes back to what you're saying, Attorney Calvin, the importance of testifying on your own behalf. Even though, just like you said correctly, Attorney Calvin, it is our constitutional right to not, we don't have to testify because the burden of proof lies in the prosecution. I don't have to prove anything. It's your business. But what you're saying, Attorney Calvin, it really, really hones and it makes so much sense. And it just reminds me of why we do need more Black attorneys. Because from what I heard, 2 Black attorneys turned this down. And the attorney Carmelo had, Attorney Calvin, is actually a teacher at the law school in Dallas. So he didn't have someone who wasn't familiar with criminal defense, but it just doesn't sound like he had someone who really, really was on his side and his family's side. I'll go on mute. And Attorney Calvin, thank you for coming on this panel. It's really great to hear your measured feedback and responses.
And can I break this down for everybody so that everybody understands? kind of where I'm going with my self-defense situation and my proportionality argument. If you came into my office and you consulted with me and you paid me a consulting fee, and we start talking about what happened that night, I would set you down and pretty quick probably come to the conclusion that if you responded to an alleged push with a stab into the heart and proportionality was going to be the issue that we were going to have, that if you were not receptive to what I was telling you, I would tell you that I'm not the lawyer for you and you should find someone else. The reason why I would probably do that is because sometimes people want to argue their feelings with me. I don't care about how you feel about it. I'm not going to change what I'm telling you. I think people need to understand that. If I change what I'm telling you, I'm doing a disservice to you. I have to tell you that we have to deal with proportionality. I'm okay with the fact that you said, you know what? I stabbed him in the chest with a knife when he pushed me. I'm going to be like, why'd you do that? You better tell me, you better have a good reason. You may have a good reason. You very well may have a good reason. You may have a reason of, hey, he ran over. He's a linebacker. He's 200 some pounds. He tackled me. I was still sitting down. You may tell me that, and I'm like, okay, I can run with that. I can do that. We can ride with that. But you can't come in telling me all of the other stuff they were talking, them young ladies were talking about earlier. Okay, it's fine. But what we gonna do about this push and this stab? Because at the end of the day, all that's fine and dandy. But I need to deal with this push and the stab. What are we doing about that? Because if we don't do something about that, we're not going anywhere with this. Because I'm very direct. It's okay to disagree with me. You have a right to. But I'm not going to change what I tell you because this is what I do every day, all day. And if you think that I'm going to change the way I'm thinking about it, no. It's not what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to tell you what it is. I'm supposed to tell you what your blind spots are. That's what you pay me to do. You don't pay me to agree with you. You don't pay me to make you feel good. You paid me to tell you where your blind spots are. You paid me to tell you, hey, what's my best way to get myself up out of here or to get the least amount of time or for me to land soft. And I'm not doing that by agreeing with you and making you feel good. Just because you got all hot and bothered and you feel a particular way and you got any feelings about something. No. How are we going to deal with this proportionality? And you may have a very good reason, a good way to deal with it. But that may require you to testify. I need you to get up on that stand and tell them folk why you did what you did. And I tell people all the time, you may not like it, but I'm not changing what I'm telling you. That's going to stay consistent. If you don't like it, you get to do it your way. But if you do it your way and you don't listen to me and it doesn't work, don't get mad at me after it didn't go right. That's just kind of how it is.
May I ask Attorney Calvin a question? May I?
Yes.
We have to let Tulsa go,
Of course.
Matthew,
Yes,
and then
sir.
go back.
Oh no, I can wait. I'm still over here pondering my question.
All right.
Okay. Pondering.
So
Yeah.
Matthew, and then Mama Flips, and then we go around. So Matthew, go ahead.
All right, Attorney Calvin. We understand what you're saying, but we feel like hearing you tonight that you would have handled this case way different than what Mello attorney has done, and he's supposed to be a top lawyer in the area. Being Mello family is from Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, not from that area. Like you say, all judges and lawyers know each other in these areas. Do you think that, hey, he did one of the old fixes? Hey, let me get this one. I'll do you a favor on the next one. The lawyers do that.
But this is the other part of it too as well. I always preface this by saying this because, like I told Mel, I had a case last year. Well, literally, I had to stand up there and literally get my ass kicked because my client had some issues that I couldn't tell anybody about. But I couldn't ask questions. I couldn't put them on the stand because they had some issues. And I hated it because I couldn't put them out there. And so I don't know if that's the case because in Texas, I don't get to see the discovery and I don't get to see all of the stuff. Sometimes there's that 5 or 10% I don't know that I don't know. So I just don't know. And then them being from Louisiana and coming to Texas and trying to pick a lawyer, I always tell people one thing that people are not focusing on. And then we have not talked about this one thing tonight. Louisiana is the one jurisdiction that uses codes as opposed to statutes. Every other state in the United States uses statutes. Louisiana uses French codes. So it's a different law system than the rest of the entire country.
Correct.
And then them not knowing Texas law, knowing who to trust, I think maybe they didn't pick the right people to take advice from, and they didn't know the lay of the land, and I think that caused them a problem. And Mel, I think my iPad's about to die.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Calvin, for everything tonight. I just wanted to, before you go,
wait a minute.
Let's let what's
I'm here to get her question.
Question.
Okay. Let her last question.
Do you have a question for Calvin? Because
yes, for both of you guys, please. If you hear a lot of noise in the house, y'all gonna hear later. There's celebration.
I know. I'm happy too.
Okay, good. I'm
a Brunson guy. I'm a Brunson guy.
That's why I'm jumping up and down. So this is a serious conversation, but I'm telling you, that's why I'm happy. Listen, Mel and Calvin, please. There was a super chat. We have to address things that are lies on our live, right? There was a super chat in which somebody called Mel a liar and said that it was not a multi-purpose tool. It was a knife. Mel, please explain without an ambiguity that you were there and what did you see? Please. I don't like people lying on you. We need to address these things. Please tell them what you saw as far as what was at the courthouse. Thank you.
All right. So it was a multi-purpose tool, but the knife was the knife. And I'm going to show you what it looked like. There's no getting around it. It is what it is, folks. But I'm going to show it to you. This is very similar to it. It's a 3.5-inch knife, but it's on a multi-purpose tool. So there you have it.
Bingo.
All right. So you could call it what you want.
Very common in Texas. Very common in Texas, by the way, now for men to carry this.
And listen,
not out of the ordinary at all.
And I verify Mel was down here in Texas. I'm in Texas. We can verify Mel was down here. He was up in there every day. So hey, it's legit. This is a real conversation. I got one more thing, y'all. I hate to get off the subject. Man, listen, the Knicks are NBA champions. I'm happy. Jalen Brunson is my guy. I know we going off script. I got to say this. When he left the Mavericks, I was the one guy in America who said that this guy was that good. I've been posting for 4 years straight saying that this guy, my guy, was this good. I had people laugh at me. I had people say that he was crazy, that I was crazy. I happen to know people that know Jalen. I know the coach that he does Bible study with when he was here in Texas. So Jalen's a real one. That dude's a real one. He's different. He's a good person. He's a good dude. And for him to do what he's doing right now, I'm so happy for him. He's a wonderful young man. He worked hard. Big body Brunson, my guy. So I'm happy. Congrats to New York. Congrats to Brunson. And I'll tell everybody, I got to say this, man. I know it. I grew up with Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson is personally friends with me. Like I grew up with him. When I say I grew up, everybody says I grew up with him. No, I lived across the street from him. I shared a basketball court at night when he was practicing jumpers. When he went into the Black Texas Sports Hall of Fame here recently, I sat with him when he went in. Larry's my guy. He's from my neighborhood. Congrats to the Knicks. Congrats to Mel. Congrats to everybody in New York. Congrats to Jalen Brunson. We happy. And my homeboy got to take me out to eat. So I can't wait. So we good.
Thank you very much. I'm a Brooklynite, New Yorker. We're celebrating tonight. Thank you so much. I'm sorry to take us from the serious topic, but we are celebrating. Uda is a New Yorker too. We are celebrating tonight. Sorry, Mel. Getting back to business, serious business. Sorry.
Happy Joy. Sorry, Mel. I got to get it.
And
man,
I didn't have
listen.
a question. I was just going to thank you for all the information that you have informed us with. It was a blessing. You didn't have to do it. And Mel, thank you for opening up the panel for discussions for all of us to be engaging in. You're doing great things and have a great evening on purpose, and blessings to the panel.
Can I say one more thing, y'all?
Attorney Calvin, please put your information. Do you mind putting in the chat, please? Attorney Calvin,
Yes.
like your site.
My website is theywon'tletmeout.com, like the song They Won't Let Me Out. They won't let me out.com. My phone number is 214-565-5600. My email is attorneycalvindjohnson@gmail.com. I want everybody to know, I hope I don't come off as a butthole, but I try to tell people I have to be this way so that the general public know what they're responsible for. If you go to trial with me, I'm experienced. I'm not going to let you can disagree with me and go the route you want to go. But what I tell you is not going to change. And the reason why it's not going to change, because I'm responsible for telling you, hey, this is what you got to, this is the route we're taking. This is the burden that you kind of place on yourself with your self-defense, with your overuse of a response. You're allowed to use that deadly force, but you're gonna have to explain it because it was lethal deadly force as opposed to non-lethal deadly force. You respond to a push with a knife to the heart. You have to explain that. I'm just letting everybody know what the deal is. I want to make sure I give you good information, and I hope you guys, and I wish you guys the best, and we will continue this discussion on another night, and we'll go from there, and we will continue this discussion because Mel was in there every day. We're not just running our mouths. I'm a Texas attorney. We have other people that were in there every day that do this every day, and once again, we'll be doing this again here soon. We'll do part 2 tomorrow, I think. Right, Mel?
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks, Calvin.
All right.
Calvin,
Take care.
thank you. Calvin, please return. Thank you. Much
I will.
appreciation.
Y'all take care.
Much appreciation, sir.
Have a good night.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Good night, panel.
Mel, the connections that you have, Calvin is fantastic. You're from New York, so you may not be too familiar with the South, but this is what we need more of. There's a law school that opened in Dallas, and hopefully more people, especially what's going on right now in Collin County, that more Black people will really consider studying proper reading and writing in undergrad and going to law school. Because the amount of YouTube attorneys, Mel, has been a big problem. So thank you for bringing someone like Calvin, who is experienced, he has the background, and he's asking the correct questions. Like everything he brought up, this is what needed to be addressed. And it really shows that importance of maybe he should have testified.
Right.
Calvin,
So let me ask you.
Yes, yes, sir. I'll go. Yes, Mel.
Yeah, let me keep moving here for a second because we're going to close out pretty soon. Mama Flip, what is your thoughts on tonight in regards to what you learned?
I have a lot of closing thoughts, but did you want to invite that new person to say something, or is that Shadow?
Shadow's back. No,
Shadow. Hey, Shadow. I thought there's a new person.
I want to hear from you. So
yes, I thought
please.
this panel was, of course, amazing. This is our second panel on the Carmelo Anthony trial. I do agree we should have a third or even a fourth because I need everyone to hear every one of your experiences, what you saw. I need them to for you to read it out because a lot of people are on the internet trying to. I agree with our latest person that joined in. They're trying to change the narrative. I think having somebody that's actually there that was sitting there and writing the notes is very beneficial. I always felt that it was beneficial. I understand exactly what attorney Calvin is saying as far as if you're going to, again, he's not pushing back on the actual stand your ground or self defense. He's saying if you're going to use that, you have to be aware of the proportionality and you have to be able to explain what happened for you to do that. I totally agree with that. I think a lot of the people really failed Carmelo Anthony. I think they failed him. Even his parents, who I know love him dearly, they should have really researched the attorney that they have. I think they needed to bring a multi-factual group of attorney if they could afford it. I feel that Carmelo should have spoke. I also feel that Eddie, out of everybody else, I think Eddie is Benedict Arnold and Judas. And I think Eddie, when he grows up, I know he's a kid now, he's going to grow up, he's going to regret what he did because you have to live in your conscience to realize and try to lie and say a person who's been your friend, whether a person was your friend for 5 years or not, you have to really be cold as a child to lie on child. I'm sorry, they're celebrating. All right, but thank you. It was a great panel. Thank you for allowing me to talk. And
great.
Let me end by saying I want Carmelo Anthony to get an appeal. We have to push for that. What is our next action to help the family? If you have funding to help, to get them an appeal. That's what's important right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Shadow, any thoughts
Yes,
about tonight? What do you think?
I believe that we found his counsel if he ever goes to trial again. We know exactly who he needs.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're going to get him, but we need to see if Calvin will take the case on retrial. I think the good thing about Calvin showing up is it's kind of reaffirmed a few of the things I thought about, but it also clarified some of my misunderstanding. But I believe deeper now that he could have won a self-defense case if he had better counsel that represented him.
Okay, very good. A closing comment, brief comment from our guest here. Ponder. Questions to ponder? Okay, so they left. All right, very good. So thank you guys for coming on tonight. I know it was a long night. It's a very tough case, probably one of the toughest cases that I've covered so far. Definitely much different than Sean Combs and Donald Trump and some of these other cases. Even Luigi Mangione didn't get this much press. I'm also covering Nicolas Maduro from Venezuela. Not as interesting as this case here. I guess the big thing is, I know a lot of people don't want to hear what I have to say about it, but there's two things to keep in mind. You can't take weapons into a school area. Okay, that's very clear. Now, it's very debatable based on Texas, and it gets complicated. So I'll leave that to Shadow and Calvin to figure it out. The other thing is you can't go around putting your hands on other people's children at school or any place else. And so you need to teach your kids, don't go to school trying to do a linebacker press on somebody, especially somebody smaller than you. We can't address this and grow forward without not being in denial about what happened. We get so many people. I bet you 5,000 people came through tonight just to say, you're out of your mind. Why are you still discussing the case? And they'll go back into their little echo chamber. They have no interest in trying to resolve an issue or anything else. They just want to come in and make trouble. But the bottom line is you have to keep your hands to yourself, because the more you do that, the more you preserve your life, right? And you can live a longer time by keeping your hands to yourself. Don't go karate kicking folks. Don't go doing a linebacker press or anything else, all right? And that's my message for tonight. I hope we can somehow find a way beyond this, but I know it's difficult because even though it may not have been a racial issue at the time, the world, the United States, or just silly people have made it a race issue. And it's not going to go away because either side wants more smoke, and that begets more smoke, and somebody's going to get hurt if this keeps going on and on. So, anyway, thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I really do appreciate it. I'm going to let you guys give your last statement, and I'm going to close out. Mama Flips, and then Shadow's going to close out for us tonight. All right? Your final statement.
Sometimes I think that you dig and you keep throwing shots at me on I don't know if you do throwing shots at me knowingly or unknowingly. What do you mean is silly with the race? I'm the one that's pushing the race card right now as your panelist, sir.
Oh, you are? I didn't know that.
Oh, sir. Oh, yeah. People are being silly talking about race.
I didn't even think I wasn't talking about you. I'm talking about the people in the parking lot that's ready to go to war.
Oh, okay.
Spitting in each other's faces. I haven't seen you do that.
No, I'm not. My whole thing as far, but no, I have to say that because some people are like, "Oh, look at that, he's doing that." No, my whole thing is that I believe, I've been saying it, and I'm going to say it again, that I believe that it would, if it was reverse, and I still say that, whether people think that I'm making a race thing or not, I honestly, seriously believe that it was reverse, that we wouldn't be here today, because I think that the area, which is Republican GOP, apparently a Trump supporting area, would have been more empathetic to Austin if Austin was attacked by two big black guys running towards him to pick him up in a football and throw him out of the tent. It would have been a much easier thing for that community to understand and happen, because black folks are considered wilding and animal and disrespectful and laying hands.
You're starting to sound like Jeff Metcalf. You're saying y'all people, that group of people.
I'm saying, but that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, and I'm going to say that. I said I think that it would have been a different scenario if Austin was the one that was hurt. I mean, if Austin was the one that actually defended himself against two black males than the other way around. That's how I feel about it. I think that's what a lot of black people are feeling. Now, even if we didn't feel that way, even if we felt that it was going to be in either case, that if it was Austin versus if Austin plays with Mello, vice versa, even if we say, okay, it's just two children, right? We're not going to use a race in it. The trial was just ridiculous. You can't tell me, we've been to several trials, you and I. You can't tell me you could have that trial that rapid, right? You could get rid of three black jurors without even explaining really, besides their educator. Then after that, after you do all of that, turn around, you forgot, you didn't mention another possibility, which is a manslaughter. You waited until the very end to even bring that up. And then 24 hours after, not even 24 hours, I think, was it 24 hours or is the same day that you pleaded the kid guilty, you sentenced him the same day?
Maybe 2 or 3 hours.
2 or 3 hours. It's just the whole thing. The reason why people are feeling the way it is, particularly black folks are feeling the way we are, that he's enemies to Tibbs. He's Trayvon Martin, and they're doing, and he's Brown, the young man Brown that was unalive in the park. The reason why we feel that he's being unfairly treated is because the optic of it and the way it was treated is viewed as him being railroaded. That's how I feel about it. With that said, I will say it over and over again for people to understand. I am not trying to relitigate the trial. It's over and it's done with. I would like an appeal to happen in a fair location. If we could change the jurisdiction, let it be Dallas, where I think it could be a more fair environment. And if he has the same result, then at least we will know it was a fair trial, because I really don't feel that this trial was fair. Thank you, Mel, for having me on. Thank you for being at the hearing and everything like that. Appreciate you, and thank you for always bringing me on as your co-host.
Yes. New Construction says, how many witnesses did the defense have? It was 6 witnesses. Okay. All right. So we're going to have Shadow close out for tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel. We'll be back on tomorrow with a good message for the young folk. So stay tuned for that. And we'll have Shadow hit the like button, share, subscribe. Thank you. Shadow closes out.
I thank everybody for coming in and listening to us. As we said, love is easy to do. Keep your hands off people. Sometimes we make mistakes, but we can always recover from them. Let's get him back home. Let him do his time, but 35 years isn't it. We'll get this worked out, everybody. Leave race side of it. Keep self-defense up. Y'all have a great night.
Different voices, but the same song. Loving a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the thing remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony, painting the night. United we